I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone would stand, please, for a prayer and a pledge. Let's bow our heads and remember we're in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, as we gather here this evening, we ask for your blessings upon our meeting. Please grant us the wisdom and the courage to do what is right for our citizens. We want to pray for all those children who have returned to school, that you keep them safe and that you bless them as they continue their journey of education. And we want to pray in a special way for the mother of Councilmember Maria DeFrancis, who passed this morning, Miss Renata Chico. We ask that you be with her family as they grieve their loss. For these blessings and all things, we pray in your name. Amen. Councilmember Stagney, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little goody-goody Boy Scout.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. Council members DeFrances and Black are absent this evening. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Madam Chairman, we've received a request this evening to change the order of business to take item 18A at the beginning of the meeting, please.
We have a motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan to change the order of business. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 18A, at the request of the administration, an educational presentation given by the Jefferson Parish School Board regarding the school board millage renewal election on October 19, 2013.
Okay, so come forward, state your name, and who you representing for the record. Is it on? Testing.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sandy DeNapolis-Beausarge, and I represent District 9 on the Jefferson Parish School Board. And we have a wonderful presentation by our superintendent, Dr. James Meza.
Thank you, Sandy. Good afternoon, everyone, and it's indeed a pleasure for me to be here. I'm James Meza, Jr., the superintendent of Jefferson Parish Public Schools. Let me begin by thanking you for your longtime support of the school system that is in our parish, and more so for the schools that are in the Kenner city limits. It's been a pleasure for me to work with all children, but especially the schools in Kenner. And today, a brief presentation and a video. We'd like to ask for your continued support as the next few weeks we have a tax renewal. It's a 20-year renewal that supports the general operation budget of our school system. And we want to talk to you about some of our successes, as well as let you know, I'm sorry?
I want to make sure, is our audio equipment going to show this? Because I see something on my screen and I don't see it in the audio equipment. Okay. I'm sorry.
So
it will be on TV. It is on the screens in the audience, but it's not on this main screen. Is that what I understand? Because I saw something on my screen. I wanted to make sure that it was being broadcast. It is.
These two, it's just that when the system itself was repaired from the lightning strike, it was this particular screen that is not repaired completely, but it's broadcast on KTV, and these two screens display to the audience.
Okay, Doctor. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make certain.
Well, thank you, members of the council, and Mayor Yenny. Let me begin my presentation. First, Jefferson Parish is the largest public school system in Louisiana. Our enrollment's approximately 46,000 students. I've been here for 2 years, and my charge was simply that we had to have the best educated generation that the parish has ever seen. And the reason is that our children today are competing in a global market. They're competing with a global workforce, and we know that if we're going to have a world-class education, what we really mean is that we have to establish international benchmarks, that our children have to be able to reach the goals. We have to raise the bar so they can compete worldwide. What is interesting about our district, 78% of our children come from low-income families or are considered poverty level by the U.S. Department of Education. That's somewhat of a surprise because the parish, as well as the city of Kenner, is very prosperous. But our school system centers around mostly high-needs children. 20% of our population are Hispanic, and about 8% of that 20% are limited English proficient, which means they're non-English speaking. So we have many challenges, but at the same time, we have great opportunity. We draw children from more than 55 countries in Jefferson Parish, which is a tremendous strength, particularly when we're talking about preparing children for a worldwide economy. When we came to Jefferson Parish, we began a restructuring process. And if you can imagine what I'm going to say is that what if we would ask every teacher to look at the needs of children and for her to create a vision for that child, for that classroom, and collectively those visions become the vision of a school, and the vision of schools collectively become the vision of the district. We would begin to build a system around the needs of children. All the resources at the central office would be based on the individual needs of children. We have developed a network system for immediate support to schools, and we downsized the bureaucracy. When I first came there, we were spending money $25 million above budget. We had to reduce the budget, unfortunately laying off about 150 people or eliminating about 200 positions. And the budget today is stable. We're operating break even. We have increased the resources to classrooms, increased the number of resources that go to our high-need students as well as our Hispanic population. There are three parts of the strategy that we undertook as we reformed Jefferson Parish Public School. First, raise the bar. Accountability had to increase for everyone in the school system. Our principals, our teachers, our custodial workers, our cafeteria workers, our paraprofessionals, and our bus drivers. We developed levels of accountabilities for everyone to have high stakes to center around the needs of children. In my first year in Jefferson Parish, we had to make some significant shifts in terms of leadership. We moved 17 principals who I consider to be low-performing principals out of the system and hired 17 new principals. It's about 1/3 of the principals. These principals were very dedicated and loyal, but they had maxed out on what they were contributing to the system. We no longer could accept the status quo. The board had to shift its posture. It had to continue to make policy, but the policies had to drive what's best for students. Practices at the school had to focus on what's best for students, and programs had to be purchased, and vendors had to provide us with programs that were aligned to the needs of individual students. And most importantly, we had to build our autonomy. If we were going to raise the bar on accountability, we had to give flexibility and autonomy to the school, particularly to the principals and to the teachers. Principals now hire their teachers. They hire all their personnel. They have greater control over their budget, and they're making decisions now at the school site that once were made those furthest away at the central office. The rationale behind this is simple. Those closest to the problem have a better chance of successfully solving the problem rather than those furthest away. So we wanted our principals to have total control, and that's been established in a short period of time. The good news, because of the reform initiatives, every academic area improved, particularly in the last 2 years. You can see the accelerated jump in the graph. Math, science, language arts, social studies, all improved across grade level in Jefferson Parish. On our iLeap, which is part of our state testing system, you can see where our students increased up to 10 percentile points from 2009-10 to 2012-13. If you look at the eyes of researchers and you look at expected growth of systems with the diversity that we have, this is an outlier. It's far and beyond what would consider to be reasonable growth. This is the big picture here. This is dramatic change. 2 years ago, we came into the system, 72% of the schools were DNFs. They housed about 30,000 students in a D school or in an F school, or unsatisfactory education. In 2 years, we've turned that around. Now, where 75% of the students are in A, B, or C schools, schools that you would send your own child to. That's a dramatic shift. More so is that the number of A and B schools, and this is where Kenner comes into play, the number of A and B schools have more than doubled in 2 years, from 13 schools 2011 to 29 schools in 2013. What is significant, those 29 schools house 14,000 students. A system our size, 14,000 is a small percentage. But let's think about this. 14,000 quality students. What's the size of the St. Charles Parish school system? Probably around 6,500. What's the size of Plaquemine? Probably around 45. What's the size of St. John the Baptist? Probably around 4,000. Collectively, the total number of seats in those school systems, which are good school systems, are not equivalent to the total number of A and B seats that we have in Jefferson Parish. So if a company's coming in and looking for where are the best schools, you have to look at who offers the most quality seats in the area. And this is where we want to maximize our A and B schools. Let's talk. This is a graph, and this is 2011. You can see the location of the A and B schools in 2011. I'm going to ask Monica to move real fast. At 2013, look at Kenner. Go back, Monica, 2011. Can you go back? Without messing this. Did I throw you? Okay. Look at 2011. Now let's advance real quick 2 years. You can see that Schnecklenberger, Alexander, Chateau, which is now a K-8 school, Greenlawn Terrace, and with the new Kenner Discovery School, you have 5 schools that are as good as any school in America in Kenner. We also have Washington Elementary, which has been a failing school 3 years ago. It's now approaching a B. Tremendous effort by the community in Washington Elementary as well. Some of the other schools we're pushing hard, and as I mentioned to Ms. Brannigan, we have to do a better job at the middle school level and at the high school level. And as soon as we begin to upgrade the elementary schools, you'll see a change at middle school and at high school. If we factored in all the DNF schools in 2011, this is what it would look like. Now, if we move to where we are today, look what goes away. An amazing transformation, eliminating the majority of the DNF schools in Jefferson Parish, now being ranked A, B, and C. The other major accomplishments, I'd say in the top 10. We're in the top 10 of all Louisiana schools having the most improved academic performance. The top 10 and the number of students who now are college ready as measured by the ACT scores. We're in the top 10 for most improved graduation rate. We're in the top 10 for the highest number of A and B schools. We're in the top 10 for the highest number of effective teachers. This is significant. You know, you've read through the paper that recently the state released results on their state assessments of teacher performance. We had about 30% of our teachers highly effective. What's significant about that is that we have close to 3,500 teachers. That's more than 1,000 teachers highly effective. If class size is 25, that's 25,000 students taught by a highly effective teacher, which means that the growth will continue academically because of outstanding teachers in Jefferson Parish. The other thing that's amazing to us is a number of national merit semifinalists. Last year, Bonneville High School had a Hispanic young man who was a limited English proficient speaker several years ago. He was a national merit finalist last year. Haynes Academy had 10 National Merit finalists last year. There are only 2 schools that had more National Merit finalists in the metropolitan area, Ben Franklin and Jesuit. Haynes has 300 students in the school. 10 of them were National Merit finalists. 1 out of every 30 students was a National Merit finalist. That percent of success is beyond any school in terms of academic outcome. We also want you to know that we have 4 of the top 10 schools in Louisiana. 3 of them are high school, 1 is an elementary school. We had the most schools recognized for top gains in the past 2 years, and we have 4 high schools that have been named the best in America by U.S. News and World Report. And finally, 40 schools have improved 1 letter grade over the past 2 years. Our state rank has risen in 1 year close to 10 places, and it's really hard to move our system because we're talking about moving such a large system compared with some of our smaller districts in Louisiana, which are the size of some of our high schools. We recently developed a partnership with Delgado where our students, in fact, Bonneville is one of the leaders in this area. As you know, the boom in healthcare industry is alive and well in our metropolitan area. We have a partnership with Delgado where 30 of our students will work toward an associate degree, complete their high school diploma, and get certified as a medical registrar. We call it high wage, high placement, career readiness education. High wage, high placement, which means these students, when they graduate, will be able to successfully complete as a medical registrar, medical registration at a salary of $30,000. We were preparing children in the past for jobs of poverty. This has shifted dramatically and needed. If we were going to have a quality of life opportunity for our students, they had to be trained in careers that they could be hired after high school, and they also would be paid what we considered a fair wage. Okay. This is something I want to bring to your attention because it affects 2 of your schools. First, three new charter schools in Jefferson Parish. When I came to Jefferson Parish, my history as a dean of the College of Education at the University of New Orleans was that I launched the first group of charter schools in New Orleans. Many people thought we were going to turn Jefferson Parish into a charter school system. No, we are not. Charter schools are placed strategically in areas that we do not have strengths. We launched 3 schools last year. First, one was a school for an immersion in foreign language, French, Spanish, and Chinese is a 3rd language that'll be added. We launched a school called Young Audiences, which is an arts integration program, which is a K-8 program, and we launched the Kenner Science Discovery Program. If you haven't visited the school, we want you to visit the school because it shows the epitome of public education, tremendous family involvement, faculty involvement, and flexibility for the school to make decisions. That allowed us to increase enrollment in our district when population was somewhat level and as projected by our demographers. We increased by 700 students, attracting students from other school systems, which was a major plus for us. We also did it in Chateau. We converted Chateau from a K-5 to a K-8 school, keeping students in our system that would leave our system because they did not want to attend large middle schools. Chateau has a full 6th grade. It'll build a 7th grade, and it'll build an 8th grade. The question is, does a charter school draw good students from the other schools? Yes and no. But it doesn't matter because it's almost you can always talk about a rising tide raises all ship. I call it cooperation. That a charter school is going to bring a lot of attention, but in case of Chateau, they have rebranded themselves. They have developed a technology theme where they've upgraded the entire system to meet the needs and to attract new students to their school. Why do I tell you this story? Because we're asking you to continue to invest in education. Continue to invest in the millage that's coming up. We need your support. This millage is very moderate. For a house valued at approximately $150,000, it's about $52. Or I was making a presentation today at the Joe Brown Foundation on Hammond Highway. I stopped at a coffee shop, got a cup of coffee. It was $4.30, and I said to myself, that's what it would cost a family a month to support this millage for a house of $150,000. But don't look at it as a tax. Look at it as an investment. Without a strong public education system, we have no economic development. You have no workforce to attract business and industry. And most importantly, you do not have any plan to curtail crime without quality public education. The way we build incarceration centers and jails in America today is by predicting the size of them by the reading scores of fourth graders. Without a strong public education system, crime cannot be controlled. How important is this in terms, and how much is it compared to other school systems? Caddo is probably the best system that mimics us in terms of size and diversity. And Caddo, you can see, it's close to 3 times or more our millage as we're at the bottom. Look at St. Tammany, twice to 3 times what we're paying. St. Charles, even Orleans, is twice, 44 mills compared to our 22. So we're not asking for an increase. We're asking us to keep us. And if it's at the bottom, it's at the bottom. But we're not asking for any more than what we currently have. The results of not receiving a favorable vote of the public is devastating to us. Those of you who, and I know the council is involved in managing the budget, and the mayor as well through his staff, taking $23 million out of your operating budget is an extreme, drastic cut. That our budget converts to about 75% salaries. We have to pay close to 50 cents on a dollar for every employee because of the state retirement system, because of health care costs, 50 cents on a dollar. If we do not receive a favorable vote, more than 200 teachers and support workers will lose their job. Our pre-K program that are funded through the general budget, not through the state, would be reduced drastically. And of course, we would when we reduce teachers, we talk about bigger class size. When you talk about bigger class size, you talk about discipline problems and you talk about poor academic performance. You can see the accelerated growth that we went from 52nd to 41st. We're expecting to be in the high 30s. We want to be at the top. We can be at the top. We have to continue to invest in education for us to continue to grow. So I want to thank you. We have a short video. I know I've held your attention way too long, but the video sort of brings it all back into focus. It's good reinforcement. It's a good teaching technique, too. So, Monica.
The Jefferson Parish Public School System is now the largest district in the state. Over the past 2 years, there has been a bold transformation in the school district to move us closer to having the best educated generation that the parish has ever seen.
When we first came to Jefferson Parish, our philosophy was we could build a system around the needs of every child. And that seems to be maybe a dream, but it's become a reality. We have built a system around the needs of children.
In 2011, almost 70% of our students were in D or F schools. In 2 years, JPPSS has flipped that number. We now have close to 75% of students in A, B, or C schools.
We are in the top 10 in the state in academic performance. We're in the top 10 in the state in graduation rates. We're also in the top 10 in the states in our students being eligible for college by their ACT scores.
On October 19th, voters will have an opportunity to continue their investment in Jefferson Parish Public Schools by renewing the 7 mills property tax. The money it generates represents a big portion of the district's day-to-day operating funds. There is a lot at stake. If the millage is not renewed, JPPSS will experience the loss of $23 million in operating funds beginning the 2014-2015 school year. Without it, the district may not be able to continue pre-kindergarten classes or middle school athletics, arts, and music programs. There could be the loss of teachers, paraprofessionals, and other staff support. Current class sizes might have to be increased. Upgrades in technology and modernized classrooms for the next generation of learners could also be impacted without the millage renewal.
Anytime that you have a good public education system, you are going to be able to provide a high-quality workforce, and that's what businesses who are looking to relocate to our area are looking for, a high-quality workforce, people who have received a good education.
I think also it's important because our parish is trying to attract young professionals to move here, and we have to have a solid education system and good schools to send our kids to.
I'm pretty excited about them adding the ACT scores to part of the formula to see the performance of a public school, which will actually help better prepare students for college life and progressing on into their careers. So I'm definitely very grateful for that.
This is our 4th year in the Jefferson Parish Public School System. We're just starting it. And we've certainly noticed that our 2 boys have developed very well over those 4 years.
The quality of life in our community is based on the quality of a strong public school system. On October 19th, consider our tax renewal and help us, join us in partnership and maintaining the progress that we've made in our system and establishing the best school system in America for children of Jefferson Parish. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your longtime support. It's a pleasure to work with you, and also especially the schools in Kenner. They have great promise, great potential, and they are at a strength today. And if you haven't had a chance, get a chance to visit the school. It's a wonderful place, what's happening in Kenner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Well, we actually have a couple of council members who aren't going to let you leave quite so soon.
Okay, sure.
Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Meza, and School Board Member Bozarge. Thank you very much for being here and giving this presentation. I think you're going to have great coverage in Kenner because I understand you gave the same presentation to the KPBA. So I think that's airing right now. Kenner residents will get all that you've told us here in terms of the graphs, the comparisons from 2011 until now, those numbers, you shifting the leadership responsibilities or the school board doing that seems to have put the school board and our public school system in the right direction in terms of what you've shown us. And my biggest question you answered towards the end was whether this is a tax increase or not. And it is not, and the residents out there should understand that this is just the same investment that you've been making, and these leaders are showing that if that investment is used wisely, our public school system can go in the right direction. So I commend all of you and what you're doing. I guess I can only speak for me. I'll be voting for this renewal. It's that important. Our public school system is too important to both our business climate and, as you said earlier, crime is not going to decrease until you can educate these young people at a very early age. So we thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your support.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And once again, thank you for bringing us a little report card, I guess I want to call it, about what the Jefferson Parish Public School System is doing. And actually, my granddaughter was in private school, is now in public school.
All right.
I'm that confident that it's doing that well. I can tell you that when the school board was kind of like revamped and reelected a few years ago, they had a major challenge on their hands because people had lost a little bit of the confidence in the public school system. But I can tell you from everybody that I've talked to, from business leaders and everybody, that there's a new vote of confidence in what's happening in Jefferson Parish Public Schools. And it's brought about your leadership and the leadership of the current school board. And I'll tell you that I will be voting for this, and I'll be, I'm actually going to do a voice call over into my district urging this to be supported because I feel that this is essential. This is so so much needed. And the support of the public school system, like you say, the percentages and the turnaround that you guys have done, it's nothing but encouragement. We don't want to send it back to where it was at all. We actually want to move it as forward, and you guys have a great game plan ahead of us, you know, to get these schools, like you said, more and more in the A and B class. So, you know, to anybody that's out there in Kenner, you know, this public school and what we have in Kenner is so important to us. And I tell you, you know, I'm on the Economic Development Committee that the mayor puts on, and that is the topic almost of every subject of what we're doing in Kenner and how we're going to be able to drive density and population, drive people to Kenner as a destination point. And schools and education is always a major factor of those discussions. Y'all doing a fantastic job. You know, we'll be supporting it. You know, like I said, I'll be doing a voiceover in my district supporting it as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks for your support.
Excuse me, Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, and thanks for your leadership, and thanks to the school board and for all you do. You know, it's remarkable what y'all have accomplished. I do a monthly e-newsletter. I don't know if you have a link to that video, but if you do,
Yes, Monica can do that.
Get it to us. We'll
you.
definitely, you know, include it there, and we're going to support this. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your support.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President, and Dr. Meza, School Board Member Beauchard, Ms. Pierre, and also for all the school board members, especially my school board member, Mr. Cedric Floyd, who has done a fantastic job for the children of the district that he represents. One of the things that you mentioned as far as it relates to a number of the parents, students, grandparents in my district is that this millage is important, and obviously no one can afford to take hits these days, but the concern is the abandonment of the public school system, because as there's a perception that the charter schools were taking over from the public school. And quite frankly, if that is something that people believe, then they're not going to support the public school system. I'm speaking specifically for District 1 that I represent. It is important that we don't abandon the public school system. I am a product of the public school system, graduated from Bonneville High School. I support a lot of the children now in my district who attend public schools. They have a lot of challenges, but all of the efforts that's been shown by the numbers that you and Ms. Pierre have showed today shows that this is not the case, and hopefully it will never be the case to abandon the public school system, because it's too large and too important for the overall economic conditions of Jefferson Parish. So that is the confidence that I think is important to be able to instill in all of the parents and the students. As these numbers increase, everyone will have this confidence. Washington Elementary is part of the district that I represent, is one of the schools that has increased. I personally know the principal, Ms. Evelyn.
They're very close to a B. I mean, they are like 1 or 2 points. In fact, I thought they were, but we won't know for a few weeks. But they're really close. They did
Right.
tremendous work there.
And Ms. Soniak and her complete staff, and even the parents, when things are getting better, the parents have that sense of confidence, and they too are buying into it. So hopefully this will spread throughout the whole public school system, and this is what we're going to be held accountable for. We here as council persons, you, the school board members, and everyone else, and that's what the confidence we need to ensure that these monies are being spent properly. And based on the numbers, we look forward to further increases, further advantages, further to records for us to represent the state of Louisiana and the country. So we look forward to that. I think this is something important for us to continue to go forward. I will be supporting this and hopefully be able to help support it by going around to the G.T. Woods, the Washington Elementaries, the John Clancy's, to be able to say, this is something important. We need to invest in our children's future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thanks for your support.
And, okay, Mr. Morello, would you like to speak? Please come forward.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 41 years. I want to thank Sandy for coming. I want to thank the superintendent for coming to the meeting tonight. The figures they showed are encouraging, but I like to find out one figure in particular. I like, either one of them can answer this question. What is the percentage that the school board gets, if any, from this multi-billion-dollar gaming industry in the state of Louisiana? Ms. Broussard, you can answer this, or the superintendent can answer this, either one.
Thank you.
Well, I wish I had a clear answer, but as you know, it's always said that the reason we're establishing video poker and lottery and casinos for education, but it really goes into the general fund. And you can imagine what happens when it goes into the general fund. It's not dedicated to education. So we may get a spin-off, but we share it with every other public unit in the state government. So unfortunately, I don't think it's coming to school systems, but it is going into the general fund budget.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
Then I would like to say, appreciate that. I would like to say, though, to the superintendent that if this money is going into the general fund, I think we should push and we should have some kind of transparency, and we should find out where this money is going if it's not going to the school board. And we should demand, this Jefferson Parish School Board should demand its fair share of this multi-billion-dollar gaming industry, not just be satisfied with it going into the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morella. And I wanted to just go on the record that Councilmember DeNapolis will be putting on some legislation or resolution for the support of the counter council at a meeting in October prior to the election. Also, I think you have a listening session in October that you can make mention of the initiative. I wanted to ask just a couple questions. You talked about how, well, first of all, let me just say, Bisnay Plaza, James Madison, and Adams, which is now Harold Keller. And the point I'm saying that is where I went to public school until I went to high school. I think because way back when, people felt like it was, you know, that you had choices for good education for your children. Generations ago, it was almost that it was demanded of families, and they felt like it was a good option. And I think that we're having that sense again, that people are feeling like it is a choice. And that's always what it's about, is that parents have a choice for their child. And those who didn't have the resources available to them felt like there was no choices available to them. And those who did have the resources available to them thought that the only choice was to use those resources to do whatever was necessary to get their children and the education that they wanted for them. But I'll tell you, I'm in real estate, and I just sense that the attitude is changing because there have been people who have actually moved here and have considered Kenner because it increased their chances of getting into the Discovery Health Sciences. Two of them were physicians who were from out of state, and one a couple of years ago who had grown up in Kenner, moved uptown where everybody wants to live, and made a choice to move back to Kenner because finally she felt like there were choices here that were going to impact her family's ability to give them a good education without having to go out and scout out what other opportunities were available to them. So congratulations on that, because I'm telling you, since I don't feel like I've had that sense since I was in school years ago, when it just, of course you went to public school because you could get a good education. But one of the things that I'm curious about when you're saying that, and I agree that moving these middle school students to the elementary schools has provided a sense, I have someone who I spoke to the other day, it's given them a sense of more safety for their children, or their children's, they just felt like their child wouldn't be put into a bigger pond when they weren't emotionally ready for that. What's going to happen to the middle schools? What's going to happen to the Adams and the Harrises and the Roosevelts?
Well, the middle schools, they have a mission, as you say, they're much larger. What has haunted them recently over the past 4 or 5 years is the overage children in middle schools. We haven't done a good enough job at the elementary level. we had high retention rates at the elementary level, and therefore the child becomes overage. An overage child usually tends to act out and becomes a discipline problem. So what we're trying to do is several things at the middle school. First, we're trying to understand, why is a child overage? Did they fail at an early second or third grade? That doesn't really matter when they're in 6th or 7th grade. We can give them an exit out, so they have an opportunity to earn additional credits in the summer, exit out, and move to the next grade. That has been really a plus for us. And our high schools now are looking at the 8th graders that are overage. They're working with a bridge program that they're letting some of the 8th graders go in the high school campus, working on both high school and middle school, which kind of eases that frustration of some of the overage children. But our middle schools will stay. You know, middle schools are very comprehensive. They have football. We still have middle school football. They have a strong band program. Some people want to be involved in larger schools. Some people would rather a more protective environment, like you said. I think we'll continue to have both. But when we do a better job at the elementary level, I think you'll see a major shift in our middle school as well. We want to deal with middle school with personalized learning. You know, the first midlife crisis isn't at 40. It's when you're 10, 11, and 12 years old. They got more things happening to them than most adults have at 40. So we've got to personalize that environment. So we're trying to do that in our middle school.
And I know a few years back that they had cut some of those extracurricular programs in those middle school environments. Is that all reestablished?
It's reestablished, and we have to build on it because it is about personalized learning at middle school. We really do. They have to have belongingness. They have to have a sense of self-confidence. They're going through a lot of self-doubt at that time. So the more they stay engaged in school, the better chance we have of having a successful student. So as long as I'm there, we will continue to support a full comprehensive program for our middle schools.
Okay. And I'm wondering, I know that the millages bring in a certain amount of money, and you have to educate a certain number of children. And as you attract more children to the system, how is that going to play out when the monies are being divided less and less per head, I guess?
Not necessarily. Your enrollment generates more income from the state. More revenue, not income, but revenue from the state.
Gotcha.
So we would get the same percent based on the number of students that are enrolled.
Okay. What else is on the ballot that day? Is it going to be?
Well, the sewage and water tax of the parish is also on the ballot.
Renewal?
Renewals.
When is that? I'm sorry, Councilmember Reynaud is bringing to my attention that the parish president will be speaking at the pavilion.
And if I could just say one more thing, next Friday is our Dollar for Scholars event at the Kenner Pontchartrain Center. And it's a great event, so you have a chance to come by. It's wonderful. There's more than 60 food booths, great bands, and we certainly like to invite everyone if you get a chance to come by.
Okay. It's October 9th that the parish president will be speaking in Kenner on the millages that will be on the ballot, so I don't know.
Maybe we can contact him.
I was going to say, we're trying to give you as many little opportunities to pick.
Yeah, we've done a kind of a teaming on some events.
Okay.
So that'd be great.
Well, good. Well, we will send you the resolution that Councilmember Denaples will be putting on.
Thank you, Mr. Denaples. Thank you so much.
And we wish you every luck. I mean, I think all of us, either having been educated in the public school system, seeing how it impacts our community. I mean, today, I've told you the story earlier, and I'll finish with this. I was talking to somebody who has a key role in one of the Catholic schools, and they were very nervous about Discovery Health Sciences. And my message to them was, I know that it's a challenge, and it's good. I mean, it's good to be challenged because then you look at ways to be better so that you can attract more people. But you also don't want to have a really good school in a community that doesn't support public education, because the rest of the community will crumble around you. I mean, there will be nobody else in the community to choose your school as well. I mean, so we will attract the best to come live here. We'll attract the best businesses to come employ people here. So I think that those things go hand in hand, and it's been a long time since I think they've had to compete because they've been
Yep,
the
that's
best
right.
thing in
They've
town.
had the best,
So,
right.
so it's healthy.
Yeah.
And it's good, and it's exciting, and I'll tell you, it's attracted some people
Yeah.
here that I've learned of through, like I said, real estate, that I'm just thrilled to have them.
Well, let me know if you have a group coming down, any type of a business that wants to think about relocating in Kenner. If I can be of any assistance coming in, speaking to them, certainly be willing to do that and to be part of your team in any way that I can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So
I
thank you
also
for your
want
time.
to thank the mayor. He's always been there for us. He's done a great job. And want to thank Mike publicly for all his support to us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. We have also received a request to take item 18B at the beginning of the meeting.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan to change the order of business.
Yes,
Take
ma'am.
item 18B at this time. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 18B, at the request of the administration, a brief presentation regarding past to progress and the ongoing West Esplanade construction project given by Mr. Rick Hathaway, Project Manager.
Mr. Hathaway, name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Rick Hathaway. I'm the construction manager, and my address is 4712 Janice Avenue in Kenner. As I
Welcome home.
stated, I am the construction manager with HNTB Corporation. We are the program managers for the Past to Progress program. It's a series of projects here in Orleans and Jefferson Parish. I'd like to also introduce our public involvement rep and let her talk a little bit about communications before we talk more about West Esplanade.
And your name, please?
Shinsi Mouton, and my address is 832 South Clearview Parkway, Elmwood, Louisiana.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to state that Past to Progress is a transportation improvement program to rehabilitate more than 60 roadway segments in Orleans and Jefferson parishes. I am a part of a team that manages the communications and the outreach. I just wanted people to know that we do have open lines of communication, and if any residents have any questions or concerns, they may call us at 1-800-574-7193. We also have a website where we post information about the projects and the schedules. The website is pavinglaroads.com. We also have social media accounts where we do post project details as well on a weekly basis. Thank you.
We have a two-page handout here that we'd like to give to the council. We weren't able to prepare a PowerPoint presentation for this evening, but if that could be passed out. Just give you some information about what's going on. The projects, this is the fourth project of 4 projects here to be completed in Kenner. Some of the streets that you may have seen completed are Williams Boulevard down here in Rivertown, West Metairie, portions of Roosevelt Boulevard. We've also worked in North Kenner on Vintage, Loyola, Yenny, Salentini, and now we're under construction on West Esplanade between Williams and Old Miss, 31st Street between the Duncan Canal and Loyola Drive, and Loyola Drive between the 3 Loyolas and West Esplanade Avenue. The program is proceeding pretty quickly, and so I know that West Esplanade is somewhat of a traffic hazard or hassle right now, I should say, and we'd like to just discuss or answer any questions that we can about that particular project. In addition to the work going on right now, the FHWA and the DOTD has also approved an extension of West Esplanade to be constructed from Williams Boulevard to Power Boulevard, and they also approved our return to a portion of Roosevelt Boulevard between West Metairie and Veterans during the construction activities themselves additional roadway failures occurred, and we were able to convince those agencies to let us go back in there and make these additional repairs. That work will be starting in late October. Right now, it will be a continuation of a project that's under construction, or that's going to start Monday on Clearview Parkway, and then when the contractor is finished, they'll move to Roosevelt. We worked with the contractor on West Esplanade, which is Barry A. Construction Company, during this process to minimize as much disruption to traffic as possible. Obviously, there'll be some inconveniences when a street goes under construction. Due to the number of concrete panel failures on West Esplanade, the only efficient way to do the work was to close one lane of traffic in each direction. As some of you may have seen already, they've removed quite a number of the roadway panels. They've started pouring the new concrete yesterday, and that will continue on through the coming days and weeks. The ADA ramps at all of the corners and at some of the commercial driveways, like the Esplanade Mall entrance and so forth, will be replaced as well. So that work is ongoing as we speak. Concerning the traffic itself, we worked with the City of Kenner, with Jose Gonzalez and the Public Works Department, also Jerry Dillenkoffer, to have the signals, the green phasing on West Esplanade extended as much as possible without affecting the side streets, so that more vehicles could get through on West Esplanade. We've contacted the Kenner Police Department to get some assistance there. There's been some question as to what amount of assistance could be given, and at this point, what the need or what the positive results would be. So at this point, we do have the Kenner Police Department lined up for the asphalt paving operations on West Esplanade, but that will not occur until the second week in November. At that point, when the asphalt is laid, vehicles cannot cross the asphalt for a certain period of time. We're talking 20 to 30 minutes after the asphalt is laid. Otherwise, it will damage it. And the police department will be there to close off intersections and shopping center driveways as necessary and redirect the traffic. In addition to working with the Kenner Public Works Office, we also met with the Alexander School, met with their principal to discuss the bus drop-off and pickup, also their carpool operations, so that we would get our timing straight and not affect them in any negative way. There's also, Ms. Mouton has presented press releases, multiple, to update the public, update the news media as to what's going on. We also had a community meeting several weeks ago before the job started. Everyone near West Esplanade, businesses, apartments, residential areas, were invited to attend that meeting. They could come and ask any question, discuss the traffic situation. It wasn't a great attendance, but I felt like we got the word out at that meeting. And also, any other agencies or whatever that we could have discussed with, the school board, police, fire, all of those types of agencies have been notified of what's going on. If there are any emergency situations, the panel replacement is not a continuous panel replacement. There is breaks in between. So we feel that emergency vehicles would be able to get through using either the closed lane, the unpaved areas of the closed lane, or allowing the vehicles that are in the open lane to move to those closed lanes. So in the second page of the handout that we gave you, we just have some questions that we thought that maybe you guys would would like to ask, and so we'd try to answer them here. So first off, who's administering the project? Well, this is a federally funded project, 100% federal funds. That's administered by the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. We, HNTB Corporation, is the program manager. We're supervising the construction, working with local government and any other agencies that need to be coordinated with in order to make this a successful project. And Barrier Construction is the contractor that's performing the road repairs. And why is one lane in each direction being closed? It's between Williams and Ole Miss, a substantial completion that includes all items except for the permanent striping will be completed by November 25th. We're dividing the work into segments so that the project would be, the time of the project is reduced, and the contractor is permitted to work in both the eastbound and the westbound lanes in order to meet the deadlines of the project. If the contractor does not complete the work by the designated day, they will move into a liquidated damages phase. They do not get a bonus for early completion, but they are penalized for late completion. Another question that we received is why did the work begin after school started? The design of these projects began last year, April of 2012. As part of the progress and the design efforts, we, as the engineers, assigned a certain number of days for each construction project. The DOTD has instituted a new bidding process where it's called the A+B bid. The A is the money that it takes to build the work, and the B is the contractor estimating a certain period of time in order to complete the work. By adding the +B, the contractor then can reduce the number of days that they can work on a particular job. So the schedule originally had for this West Esplanade, 31st Street and Loyola, later in the school year, in fact, near the end of the school year in 2014. Because the contractors were very aggressive in getting this work, the number of days for the construction project reduced from about 600 to less than 300. So that is the reason why the work is now proceeding now. The order in which the streets were done, we worked with the City of Kenner and with the Regional Planning Commission and mapped out the priorities, and this is the way that the order of the streets were chosen. And again, we expected that this work would take place next spring and summer, not at this point. And what is being done to minimize the inconvenience to impacted areas? Well, like I said, we worked with Kenner DPW to have the timing changed on the signals. We've contacted the police department and we'll be hiring a police detail for the paving operations. And in addition, message boards have been set up by Jefferson Parish Public Works Traffic Engineering along with Kenner DPW in order to notify the traveling public that there are lane closures ahead. So with that, if anyone has any questions.
Apparently, there's some other FAQs, because there's quite a few lights on. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And like I said, I met both of y'all at the dedication of at the pavilion back a couple months, and and let me tell you, my office, poor Donna, has just received just a barrage of phone calls about, why is the entire street being blocked when the work is only being done in one section at a time. And of course, I talked to Jerry Dillencoff about this, and of course, I finally got my answer, and this is what I need to know, because this is really, I understand that the not the main contractor, but a subcontractor on the job, went ahead and saw cut several blocks ahead of the actual work that was being done. And that's why those cones are there, because once you saw cut a section, it's not an integral part of the rest of the roadway. So therefore, the contractor felt that it would be hazardous for cars to ride on it. I just want to learn from this experience, because I think that, this is what, Jerry Dillencoff and I talked about, that, if you can be working on a block, then saw cut that block and leave the rest of the street open. And then when you go to the next block, saw cut that block. But what happened was I understand, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the information I received, that one of the subcontractors went ahead and saw cut the entire street weeks ahead of actually the removal of that concrete. So therefore, that street, that whole roadway, therefore, was blocked off from access the entire length. And I know Jerry and I talked about it. Maybe Jerry can explain this better to me, but it's not so much the work that's being done, it's just the process that has caused a little bit of grief along the businesses along West Esplanade. And that was my only point I wanted to make with this. I don't think that would be acceptable in the future again. That if you're going to have a contractor working on a block, then that block becomes, not accessible to the public. And then the next block. So that means that he would have to bring the saw cut out every time to do the block. Well, so be it, because a lot of those businesses out there are suffering because that subcontractor went beyond the scope of work that was being done right now. Because they saw cut all the way down to Ole Miss, and they're not even there. They won't even be to Ole Miss for another 3 or 4 weeks. Okay? So that whole stretch in front of AC Alexander right now could have been left open. So that was my only point, is the process that y'all did, or the process that you allowed to happen. And I don't know if that subcontractor realized just the impact it did on that street by doing it that way, because it has caused a lot of grief. And that's my complaint, and that's where I am with it. I mean, we appreciate the work, we appreciate the 100% financing, all that, but I think that was missing. That ingredient, or that procedure was just missing. That guy, whoever that contractor was, subcontractor was, should not have saw cut all the way down the whole street. That was my opinion. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President, and I too would like to thank the information and meeting that both of you guys came out and gave at the City Park as it relates to the 31st Street. And will there be another meeting for 31st Street, or was that the meeting, the information that was shared? Will that be it?
That's the community meeting for all 3 streets.
Okay, it was informative. There was a lot of questions, a lot of input from Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Dillencoff from their staff. There is some additional work going on that we are going to be adding to that, which will help the residents in Lincoln Manor subdivision. And I see the information that you passed out, specifically related to the West Esplanade repairs. Do you have anything for the 31st Street? Have that one started, or what is the time frame for the 31st Street?
The 31st Street, the saw cutting for the handicap removal began yesterday. What's going to happen, the contractor will remove and replace all the handicap ramps from Loyola to Duncan Canal and then back again. They're going to time the removal of the asphalt and the resurfacing so that it coincides with the removal and replacement of the asphalt on the Loyola Drive segment between 3 Loyolas and West Esplanade, so that they bring the machinery out at one time. So that'll happen later in the year. It's not going to occur right away, but that is giving us the opportunity. I think that you're aware of the intent to add the bus pads on 31st Street.
Yes.
And it takes a little bit than just good intentions to do that. Paperwork needs to take place through the DOTD and through the FHWA. A supplemental agreement has been written by the DOTD legal staff and has been forwarded. It will be sent to Mr. Gonzalez so that he can present it to the mayor for signature. And once that is signed, then money from the city of Kenner can be transferred to the DOTD, and then the bus pads can be installed. That will give us time to get the handicap ramps in place at first, and then we can start the removal and replacement for the bus pads. There will be some inconveniences on 31st Street when that happens, because once again, we're dealing with concrete in the roadway. And when the asphalt roadway is removed and the concrete is formed and poured, there will be a several-day period where that travel lane will be closed and traffic will be detoured over to 30th Street, the I-10 service road area, and so that the concrete can cure properly, and then it'll be reopened. And then after that is when we'll do the cold mill and overlay of the roadway. So that all of that is going to be over the next 2 to 3 months.
Yes, and that was a real informative information that you just gave us. And most of that, 90% of it was covered at the meeting that we had. The part that we had to produce as far as the funding and the vehicle to use, Mr. Gonzalez and his staff has coordinated that. We are in a good place with that. I think it's not going to be a holdup on the city of Kenner's part. We've done our job to get that in place. And most of these questions, all of these questions are real good questions. How do they relate to 31st Street? If you can just go through each one and answer, the concerns that may be and what some of the answers or some of the decisions were made based on 31st Street, because there are schools, there's two sides, one traffic. So if you could, please, sir.
Sure. Well, obviously, the first one's the same. We're administering it through the DOTD, and Barry A. Construction Company is the same contractor for 31st Street. Why is the one lane being closed? Initially, it was not going to be closed. 31st Street is an asphalt roadway, and the patching could take place and not require a lane closure. With the inclusion of the bus pads, it has to be closed, like I said, in order to do the curing of the new concrete pavement. So there will be a period of at least 2 to 3 weeks where I think the bus pads will be in the eastbound lane, and that eastbound lane will be closed. Traffic will have to be rerouted where 30th comes into 31st right in front of the Sam's, then around the Sam's all the way down to the Duncan Canal and back over to, I guess, eventually 32nd Street. So for that period, there will be a closure. We can't avoid that. And that's being done for the bus pads. Why did work begin after school started? It's the same statement. It was initially, because it's tied to the West Esplanade and Loyola Drive segments, it was initially thought to be constructed towards the end of the school year and summer of 2014. But due to the competitive bidding process and the reduction of days that enabled the contractor to win the bid, we're here now. There were 2 projects in front of it. Vintage and Loyola was the first group, followed by Yanni, Lentini, and Chateau, and then West Esplanade, Loyola, and 31st was the last group to follow. And then what is being done to minimize the inconvenience. When we first started the job, we thought we were going to minimize the inconvenience by not having to close the roadway. The bus pads kind of changed all of that. We're using high early strength concrete. It's a 48-hour mix. It allows traffic to be on it within 3 days. That's the first thing that we're using to minimize traffic inconvenience. The contractor is working 5 days a week from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. They also are able to request to work on Saturdays and Sundays. They have requested to work on Saturdays and Sundays. We have to get approval from Mr. Gonzalez on a weekly basis for that. So far, he's approved every week. The only time we expect to not be approved if there's some sort of special event that would prevent construction from going on. The contractor's well aware of that, and they'll continue to pursue any available work time that they can in order to get the job completed, as I stated, because they will be penalized if they don't complete in the allotted days. I think that's about it for trying to minimize.
Yeah, those are the four questions, and it was just great to be able to say that publicly so the neighborhood will know what's going on. Obviously, safety is always paramount all the time. Mrs. Gonzalez and I have talked about it. Once the work starts, there's information, a phone number where The residents can call if they have any concerns. There will be signage put up. There will be exit signs showing where you can enter and to be able to get on and off of the, from 31st Street without any difficulty. It's good to have 30th Street, to have another street that we can use to exit the, since when the work is being gone on. And also because of the school, the children who are they gravitate to construction and things going on. So we're anticipating this. We will be keeping the public up to date of what's going on, and hopefully it will be as smooth and as safe as it was for Williams Boulevard for the first part of the path for progress. Thank you very much.
I would like to add, speaking of the schools, we spoke to the principal at G.T. Woods Elementary.
Ms. Holmes.
And she was able to inform us how the bus drop-off and pickup occurs there, as well as any carpool, and as far as the kids that walk to and from the school. So we are working with them for the same process, just like we are with the Alexander School.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilmember Stagney?
Thank you, Madam President. I think I've said it time and time again, this program, Path to Progress, the $26 million being spent in this city is a crowning achievement that will change the landscape of this city in terms of your driving experience, the aesthetics, and most importantly, the driving and pedestrian safety for our citizens. And if it were not for Mr. Gonzalez, this administration, and all of those involved, you know, this amount of money being spent in this short a period of time has not occurred in this city in the history that I can remember. And our citizens are going to be very, very thankful for the work that you've done. Having said that, Mr. Hathaway, Ms. Mouton, thank you for being here. Mr. Hathaway, do you remember me?
Yes.
I'm the hemorrhoidal one.
Yes.
When you guys first, when your contractor first marked Roosevelt Boulevard, I went out there and I was shocked because I saw a number of street panels that were obviously damaged, that were not marked. I went out there personally, sent the list to Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Dillenkoffer. They went out there, they sent the list to you, and about 2/3 of them were done. And I thought it was over. I did the best I could. I also wanted the asphalt overlay. We weren't able to get that. But they've gone back out there and marked more panels, a lot of those panels that I had given you. So I think almost all of them are covered. I appreciate you continuing to follow up on that. I know there was some extra money. We had also talked about extending from West Esplanade from Williams to Powell Boulevard. Y'all have gotten money for that segment. I know, folks, it's an inconvenience, but this is going to change the visual aesthetics and driving experience of our city. I will tell you, when they put the cones out for West Esplanade, I did receive many calls. They felt like, to the naked eye, they put the cones out, and for almost a week, nothing happened. So there was frustration, there were traffic jams. But as we all continue to say, I'd ask our citizens to please pardon our progress. This is a tremendous program, a tremendous undertaking, and I'm going to give kudos to you, Mr. Hathaway, because I'm sure they got a lot of people like me who continually browbeat you to get more done for their areas. And people who know me know I'm going to fight for everything I can for the district I represent. And you've done everything you could to follow through with those requests. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate the meetings that you all hold. And if the public decides not to go, that's on their back. The ones who attend, the ones that I've gone to, you've been very informative in giving out the information. And we appreciate it. And to the administration, again, this is one of those crowning achievements that's going to help transform our city. So thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to thank y'all, and you've been very informative. Both you have a social media Facebook page, and I know we refer that a lot to residents in District 3, and the meetings that y'all have had, and the work that's been completed so far has been great. I do have one question, though. I know with West Esplanade, a lot of the traffic has been, people find different alternate routes to go home and go to work. And I know we kind of congested on Powell Boulevard at Vintage. So I see that you're going to ask for police details, during the paving operations and all. Maybe we can also ask for some details on those areas that people are, you seeing a heavier traffic flow because they're taking alternate routes. But thank you for everything. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Hathaway, now you know what the Corps of Engineer feels like, right? You bring up millions and millions of dollars and people beat you back.
But we're quicker.
You're quicker.
Yes.
That's not a hard thing. Sorry. I wanted to say, Ms. Mouton, I know when you're trying to get the word out, because we are constantly trying to communicate with our districts, and you can say and say and say, and you can hold meetings, and you can send out newsletters, and you can send out emails, and you can, request stuff on KTV. There is nothing that gets the word out quicker than an orange cone. Because, people, I guess it's a compliment that there's some confidence in what we're doing, that these meetings that we have are not as well attended, or maybe it's because we're so accessible, they feel like they don't need to take time out of their schedule to come to a meeting because they know they can just text us. And so in one respect, it's good, but on the other hand, no fault of y'all's that people didn't seek out the information, but nothing raises question marks more than when people see orange cones. So I think that was probably the most effective way to alert people that something was happening. So don't be discouraged. We deal with it every day, and it's kind of a compliment that people just feel like we know what we're doing. I wanted to ask a couple questions that have been asked me, and a lot of times, while things may seem like it's very logical, and why didn't anybody think of this? It's exactly why I got in government, because I kept asking questions that nobody had any answers for, and then I got in government and realized why you had to do things a certain way. Somebody asked if there was any drainage projects going on with some of these road projects.
There's no utility work. The local government, whether it's Kenner, Jefferson Parish, or Orleans, was informed of the program, worked with us during the design, and if they wanted to do any utility work, we requested that they complete that work before the roadway repair began. So there's none associated directly with the project.
Okay, so while these streets are opened up, if there was any drainage work needed, we didn't initiate any additional drainage work, or we didn't think there was any needed?
No, I don't believe that we needed any major drainage work on some of those major thoroughfares that we were working on. And one of the problems with introducing any kind of infrastructure work would have been a delay on the project, and the funds were very limited. So if those funds were not spent in Kenner and someone else were spending funds elsewhere, like in Orleans or Jefferson Parish, and we were to delay some of those projects to introduce infrastructure-related work, then there would have been a possibility that the $25 or $27 million that were dedicated to Kenner may have not been there. But no, the program does not cover any infrastructure-related work. Neither do we think that there would be any serious infrastructure-related work, so we left the infrastructure-related work out for the sake of expediency.
Okay, I can appreciate that, but I know, like at Loyola and West Esplanade, when there's a heavy rain, or some stretches along East and West Loyola, well, anyway, I'll just talk to and it just kills me that the streets are open and we didn't try to do something to alleviate problems that already exist. And so that sometime in the future, and I'm just expressing what somebody expressed to me, and it totally makes sense, that, then we're gonna say, well, now we have a drainage project, so we're gonna rip up all these beautiful streets we just put down and put in some drainage, because there are some little problem children that we have. Chateau and Vintage is another place. And so when you see this road work going on, you're hoping that we had the foresight to address some of the issues that we have while we have these open panels. And so That's frustrating to some people.
I would like to add, if I could, working with Mr. Gonzalez, prior to the start of the Yenny section, there was a drain line that had failed near the Gabrielle entrance. And through coordination with him, he was able to send his crews out there and repair that drain line before we got there. On Lentini, there was an issue with that major water line crossing. The Jefferson Parish Department of Water came out and met with us, did a little adjustment for us, and we were able to continue the road work over the water line. So there is some coordination. Also, if during our removal of the roadway, we discover any failure, sewer, water, or drain line failure, we bring it to the attention of whoever the local government we're working with at that point and work with them to have something like that repaired. 2 instances occurred on West Metairie when we were doing the roadway panel replacement at 2 of the cross streets. It was discovered that the drain lines had collapsed as they entered into the canal. The Jefferson Parish Department of Drainage and the Kenner Public Works again worked with us. We were able to rebuild small sections of them. It appeared more critical on the roadway than what was actually affecting the pipe. Small sections were able to be repaired, the roadway base rebuilt, and now we have a roadway that's going to last the full 10-year design life. So there is a lot of coordination, probably not too much changing of pipe sizes, that sort of thing, but if there is a failure and we do discover it, we do work to repair it.
I appreciate that, but I mean, that's things that already exist and, need to be repaired to be able to put it back the right way. I'm talking about, while we have an opportunity with the roadway opening where we know that we have some areas that flood very easily, that we wouldn't have sought out an opportunity. And I know there's all kinds of logical answers in terms of losing the funding and delaying the projects. And so I get that, you have to weigh those things sometimes. And while it doesn't always make sense, it's the only way to get it for it to get accomplished. It's just frustrating because sometimes, the average citizen, myself included, will sometimes just go, "What? I don't understand." And so there's an answer. It just doesn't, it's not always as logical as you'd like it to be. The other question they had that I've gotten and I wasn't able to answer was, in the past, there have been some projects that we've witnessed throughout Jefferson Parish where they've actually had lights and worked around the clock so that they don't impact people for those rush hour times as often, and the project is then, the time is dwindles in terms of how long it takes for it to complete. Was that considered in this?
In those type of projects are more successful in a commercial area. In most of the streets that we worked on in Kenner have been highly residential, including sections of West Esplanade with the apartment complexes, the condos, and the houses closest to Williams Boulevard. So we tend to shy away from night work in a more residential area. So it was not really considered, briefly considered and then tabled because of the makeup of the neighborhood.
Okay.
If the section of Williams looked more like the mall and the Rouse's Shopping Center the whole way, West Esplanade the whole way, then it might have been a more productive or able to be used method.
And there's no value in doing just those sections that were more commercial, like at Chateau and West Esplanade?
It's really hard to break up the project into smaller areas due to the volume and the efficiency of having a greater volume. To force the contractor to work both days and nights in certain section would have clearly driven the cost. Throughout the entire program, the Submerged Road program and the Path to Progress program, there's only been one project that used the night work, and that was one in downtown New Orleans in a heavy office commercial type zone. And when we did venture into a fringe residential area to do that night work, it caused great, uproar. And so unless it was really mostly or, very high percentage commercial.
Well, I'm sure the person who posed that question does not live on West Esplanade. Because had they, when you do, then those are the kind of things that you would think through, that would make sense. So, makes sense. Okay. Lastly, I wanted to say that I know that we've increased the light time, but there are certain times of the day that we have to recognize that more people are forced onto a certain part of the roadway than others. Obviously at the school times and when people are traveling to work. And I will tell you, I take West Esplanade from the very end. I live all the way at the West Return Wall, and I take it all the way to North Turnbull every day, or Edenbourne, whatever the street is. And I've often shared with the mayor that it takes me as long to get from the West Return Wall, trying to get the heck out of Kenner, to Power Boulevard as it takes me to get from Power Boulevard almost to Causeway, because we have so many lights on West Esplanade. Well, when you're traveling in the morning with this greater impact, and I sit, and I call it Anna's Linen's Light, because there really is nothing else in that mall, and there is nobody going to Anna's Linen between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., or even any other business in there. I still have no idea why we even allow a signal at a place that's not even open yet for rush hour traffic. Like, why are we allowing the Esplanade Mall and the Anna's Linen or Capital One, that's really all that's there, to even get a green signal when there's nobody there? That's so frustrating to myself and to other people, to have to sit at a red light when all this is going on, when there is absolutely no cross traffic, zero. So have we considered making those places for certain times of the day? Maybe it's not a question for you, maybe it's a question for Mrs. Gonzalez. Those places where there is no cross traffic, constantly green, so that that question, which seems very logical, wouldn't raise a question in people's minds that we're really thinking this through.
What I like to say is that help is on the way. As far as those 3 traffic signals or 2 traffic signals that you're referring to, there's a line item on the agenda, on tonight's agenda, that is going to address improvements for those traffic signals. And those are the ones by Ziyad's, and I think the other ones may be Copeland's or one of the other restaurants. And once they conduct those improvements, which is a joint venture between the city and the shopping center and the movie theater, once those improvements are completed, I think you're going to see something different out there, where you're going to be able to travel through those 2 traffic signals without having to stop. In addition to that, we're also working with the Regional Planning Commission, to make changes to the traffic signal at Chateau and West Esplanade, where a new controller will come in place, new cameras, new loop detectors, and all of that. That's one of the ventures that we have with the RPC, in addition to West Metairie and Roosevelt. That's another traffic signal that we want to improve. Both of those signals are going to get new mast arms, new controllers, new cameras that would allow us to monitor traffic and allow more green time in one direction or another. But I understand your
Before
dilemma.
November 25th, that's going to happen?
By November 25th?
Is that when the project is about, November 25th?
November 25th is the West Esplanade, completion.
Yeah, so is
date.
it going to happen by then, or this, I appreciate that may happen in the future, but it's not going to happen before this project's finished.
The 2 traffic signals that you're referring to along West Esplanade by the restaurants, once this ordinance or resolution gets adopted, we're going to enter into a contract with the contractor, and soon after that, we're going to issue a notice to proceed. So there's a possibility that by December, or January of next year, those improvements will be completed on those 2 traffic signals.
But that's not going to change what's happening right now. And if they're doing a study on West Esplanade at those intersections to tell us how to improve it while this road work is going on, I don't think they're getting a true reading of what the impact to that intersection is under normal circumstances.
But what we have done out there is increase the green time along West Esplanade as much as we can. I realize that the shopping center is still not open, 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, but there's some amount of traffic that use that perimeter road as a shortcut to get
Come
to
by
other
my house at
destinations.
6 in the morning and take a ride with me.
But no, we have increased the green time as much as we can. If
I know, but I mean, is there, I understand that, but is there a way to do even better?
We'll look at it.
Okay.
But, and there is a way with these improvements that are going to be taking place within the next 2 to 3 months, which is not part of the Path to Progress program. It's a complete separate improvement. As a joint venture with the shopping center, we intend to improve that travel time through that corridor.
That is awesome, but it's not going to change what's happening right now.
Not right now, probably within the next 3 months.
And let me ask you again, are they doing a traffic study to dictate what happens in that area right now?
What has been, a traffic study has already been conducted in.
Before this started, like before there were cones on the street? Because with cones on the street, the traffic study is kind of not a good idea, because it's a totally different traffic pattern.
About a month or so ago, a traffic study of all traffic signals throughout Kenner was conducted.
Okay,
You know,
before there were cones on the street.
The RPC was the government entity that financed that traffic study. And as a result of that traffic study, a number of intersections were introduced as priorities. Chateau and West Esplanade was one of them. Okay, and the RPC is in the process of selecting a consultant, if they haven't done so already, to make improvements to Chateau and West Esplanade, and the other one is Roosevelt and West Metairie.
And those
So,
traffic studies were done before there were cones on the street?
a traffic study, okay, yes, a traffic study, a preliminary traffic study was
Jose,
performed.
let me try this. Let me try this, because there's a failure to communicate here. She wants the traffic signal taken down, if we can. That's what she's saying. If we can take the one down by Anna's Linens, Applebee's, if there's no need for that anymore, and was the traffic study that was done by RPC that they've been funding, was that intersection included in it? But that traffic study that was done has nothing to do with the work that's going on. That's for future stuff. That what's being done there is redoing the timing, redoing the looping, all that, and getting new signals. But it has nothing to do with any of the road work going on now.
I know, but I asked if the study that is going to dictate what the intersections are going to look like was done prior to this road work being done.
No, it's being done. It's being done.
It's being done, and but
Right, but then the next phase has to start.
Just allowing total green time to West Esplanade and denying access coming out of the shopping center is really not the answer. That could possibly create a safety problem out there. We do have to allow some amount of green time to the shopping center, even though the shopping center may be closed, but you have a perimeter road out there that allows.
But that's further down than Anna's Linens. That one's further down. Anna's Linens, there's nothing in that shopping center. I don't understand why we have a light there at all. Anyway, Mr. Hathaway, and he's one of my favorite people in the whole world. You see how tough?
He's tough with us.
Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about, really. He's saying, can you let the green light go twice instead? But that's exactly what we're talking about, is figuring out how much time to give to one direction of traffic than the other. All right, I still am not sure if I got the question answered, even with the mayor intervening, as to whether the traffic study for this other project, but we'll talk about that when that comes up on the agenda to let you off the hook. So, nobody else has anything for you. We appreciate you coming out, and thank you for all of the work. I know that, it's a whole lot more than what we've heard and what we've seen that goes into making these things happen, and a huge coordination. And while it seems like a huge inconvenience, which it is, it's 10 times more appreciated than you can imagine. And so as soon as the cones are gone, everybody will be singing your praises, so.
Thank you.
It's like childbirth. Okay, Council Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. The consent agenda. Item 1 is approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of September 5th, 2013. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Divine Mercy Catholic Church on October 11th, 12th, and 13th of 2013 at 4119 St. Elizabeth Drive, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1763-13, NOLA Zombie LLC, to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a 5K obstacle course/festival on September 21st, 2013, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Lake Town. Item 3B is application number 1767/13, the Deutsches Haus, to hold a public gathering for a festival on October 11th, 12th, 18th, 19th, 25th, and 26th of 2013 in Rivertown. Item 3C is application number 1769-13, Jason Wiley, to hold a public gathering for a neighborhood block party on October 19, 2013, from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the 3100 block of Jasper Street. Item 3D is application number 1770/13, Divine Mercy Parish Catholic Church, to hold a public gathering for a church festival on October 11th, 12th, and 13th of 2013 at 4119 St. Elizabeth Drive. Item 3E is application number 1771/13, Bonneville High School, to hold a public gathering for a prep rally on September 20th, 2013, from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at 2801 Bruin Drive. Item 4 is correspondence and reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Valerie Ragasback, Director of the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications, regarding various upgrades to the City of Kenner website. This report will consist of a live demonstration and a PowerPoint presentation that will be administered by Ms. Valerie Wagasback and her staff. Ms. Wagasback? You're on.
Yes, and I'm going to keep it brief, you guys. There is no PowerPoint. I just wanted to give a demonstration. At the District 3 listening session, it wasn't planned. It just kind of happened where the audience was interested in many things on the website. We went through a demonstration. It was well received. So I did it again at the District 4 listening session, and I'll be happy to do it again at District 5. But I thought that also I could do it at a council meeting where you guys could help me spread the word on how people can get the word, and then it could also go on KTV. The new website's been live for 2 years now, and so I did this 2 years ago when we launched, but we've added so much more, and we've made it so much more robust. There are things that I just fear that people don't know are on it or available to them, and I wanted to just go over some things very quickly. And you know, not everything can fit on a website's homepage, so I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention where some of these things actually lie. So we'll start out at the homepage, and you can see the 6 categories of the website. Aside from the contact information at the top are home, press, government, residents, businesses, and visitors, and they all have, you know, their own like sub-menus right underneath them that drop down. Underneath that main menu, you'll see the homepage rotator. That's where many of our main and current topics are housed. If you click these items, it will probably take you to a link with more information, whether it be another website or a press release of some sort. An example is the launch of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and then one following it is all of the new information about Paths to Progress, specifically what's going on in West Esplanade. Under that are the standing announcements that don't rotate off the page. These are just basic need-to-know pieces of information that don't necessarily have a graphic, an article, or anything. Public notices will go here. Jefferson Parish news releases that pertain to the city will go here. The council meeting agenda announcement will be here, and lane closures will also be here as well. Under here is a department listing and public agency information. These are all important need-to-know phone numbers, whether they're Kenner numbers, parish numbers, utility services, etc. You have that drops down, it'll stay there unless you hide it. Under that are your fast access buttons. This is a grid of buttons that'll take you to different parts of the website that we feel are most utilized. What's new will take you to press releases. City Council, that'll take you directly to the council page and all the individual pages of the council members. Under that, online ticket payments, meetings and notices, that's where you can see your council agendas, bids, RFPs, and SOQs, that's for people who want procurement opportunities, property tax payments online, recreation, mayor's office, KTV, so on and so forth. And, you know, we basically gauge these on what's utilized most and the feedback that we get from the public. The press page houses the press releases, which we have an archive of all press releases here. We also have a sub-page for lane closures. We have our emergency preparedness page. We have a link here, and that is a very robust page filled with need-to-know information on how to handle emergency situations, whether it be hurricane or another type of natural disaster. Under that, we have a link to Kenner TV. Kenner TV provides you with their scheduling for you know, the near period of time, all of their contact information. You can access them via YouTube on Cox 76 and UVerse 99. Well, they also have a YouTube channel here, and they advertise it on here as well. Under the government section, that's where you're going to find all of your departmental information. Oh, I have a pop-up. That's where you'll find all of your departmental information. Every department has its own page where they house all of their information, downloadable documents, and things like that. But one thing that I want to call to your attention aside is that we do have a budgets and reports page that will show you the latest budgets, financial reports, administrative reports. We have a Kenner history page here that a lot of people don't know about. We have our grant funding page where we outline all of our grant funding and awards received. We have a Kenner 2030 page that outlines all the latest and greatest on Kenner 2030 and our progress. We have a code enforcement page that has had significant enhancements. The Code Enforcement Committee has made recommendations along with the administration in that department where they put lots of important information for businesses and homeowners with regard to, you know, the code, break text station, filing, renewals, and things like that. We have a Pardon Our Paths to Progress page, and I hope that everyone knows about this considering everything we just talked about. But this page outlines what Paths to Progress is. We upload all of the public information released by them. We provide you with their contact information, and then we also have a listing of all of the projects, whether they're completed, ongoing, or upcoming. And you can look at the project, see their start date, construction, and even if you click project details here, you can see more detailed information as to how they're funded and a map of the area that it will affect. So hopefully everyone will spread the word that that is there. Under Parks and Recreation, you can find out anything you want to know about what's going on in that department, but also in Leisure Services, we now have online registration for the Leisure Services classes and all of their activities. You can access the online registration page and register your participants or yourself here. We also, we have employment opportunities, and under the personnel page, employee resources and employment opportunities, job applications can be filled out and submitted online. And under the purchasing page, we have all of our bids, RFPs, and SOQs uploaded, and they're viewable here via these 3 links for procurement opportunities. So that's basically the synopsis of the government section. Under residents, we have a directory of shops, businesses, and restaurants. We encourage anyone and everyone who wants to become a part of this to email my department. We'll add you. We do our best to add as many as we can as we're told. We have the specific page for Council on Aging, in Rivertown. We have information on our recycling drop-off program. We have information on the Hispanic Resource Center. We have our newly modified Kenner calendar, which is actually now an actual calendar in calendar format, and it goes and shows you the days of the week and a monthly view of what's going on in Kenner. So that's a thing. We just actually launched that. So basically, that's anything, Parks and Recreation, Kenner Food Bank, that's all under residents. For businesses, we have the view bids, RFPs, and SOQs portion. We have links to the professional business associations, links to becoming a vendor, JEDCO, and permits and licensing. And then under visitors, we have links to the airport, Esplanade Mall, Pontchartrain Center, Rivertown, Recreation, Treasure Chest, basically anything and everything a visitor would want to do while they are here.
And I'm going really fast because I know, I'm one of many presentations that went tonight. But I just wanted to also mention that we do have a Twitter handle. We follow other organizations who have Twitter handles to get the latest and the greatest information. For example, Paths to Progress. We follow them on Twitter. But we encourage everyone to follow us at City of Kenner. That's our Twitter handle. And then we have our Facebook page, which has become wildly popular. And, we've just noticed a trend that people always turn to the newspaper or the television to watch the news, but with mobile access nowadays, people depend on their mobile devices, and Facebook has an excellent app that everyone's used to using, and it's an easy way to get information out to people. So we've really been utilizing that, and as some of the council districts started using that, and it's just a very, very important tool to getting the word out to residents. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that we have our official City of Kenner government Facebook page, our @City of Kenner Twitter page. We have lots of new additions to the website. And I also finally wanted to say that if there's anything that anyone may mention to you that they'd like to see on the website that's not there but would be a good idea, please let me know, because I'm always open to improving it and making it better. And, the more we can put up there, the better. So I thank y'all very much for your time.
All right,
And,
Thank
there's
you,
any
Ms.
questions,
Wagasback.
no.
How about if there's like how Groupon is a thing, maybe there could be, somebody could sponsor a coupon weekly or something, put on the website.
We'd actually kind of started, talking about looking into doing things like that, promotional things like that. There's some things to work out with regard to that, but we think it's a great idea.
And did the mayor leave? Darn it. Okay, I didn't mean to draw attention to it, but I was excited to see that there's going to be a youth advisory council, because, I had a youth advisory council for about, 7 years before the storm, and then it was hard to resurrect that too, because there was so much going on, but it was called YAC, Youth Advisory Council, and it was awesome. I mean, the kids that came forward and wanted to participate and just learn more about government. I mean, we did all kinds of random things. We did trash pickups, we had prayer breakfasts where schools would bring groups to come. We had talent shows. In fact, one of the girls who won, I don't know if I ever told you this, because Natalie always helped me so much on that, well, she was my assistant, but one of the girls who won the first talent show we did, she was a dancer, and she went on to college and majored in drama or dancing, which her dad was like, why is she, what is she going to do? And she teaches dance, and her dad works at Chateau Cafe. So I get to see him all the time and catch up with her. But what I'm saying was that was such a big deal for this young woman she was just a teenager, and she got to perform on stage, and she won this contest, and I like to think that it helped inspire her dream to continue down a path of what she wound up studying and ultimately being. So it was great, and I'm going to make an opportunity to learn more about what our youth council will be doing now, because it's exciting that it'll be resurrected. All right, thank you, Ms. Wagasback.
One more thing,
Yes.
Mr. Abear, I neglected to tell you that there's been a major addition to the planning page as far as GIS is concerned, and I have it pulled up, but if you just go to the planning page, under their sub-menu, there's a GIS tab, and you go in and you go to table of contents and you look at the features. You can see a map of the city, and you can drill down and see the drainage, sewage, all of the utilities, and it has signs and lights and everything on there too, and that's through our GIS system.
How exciting. You can go in there and see our drainage and
Your
sewage
drainage
system.
and your water, and also, as
Wow.
always, on the mayor's page, you can see contracts, and those are always.
Now, I know, I like that you can sign up for a lot of the programs. I wasn't aware of that, the dancing and gymnastics and stuff, you can sign up. Can you also do that for recreation? I mean, for playground activities, or is that different?
There isn't an online registration system built yet for the baseball, football part of it, because of the fact that you can't just sign up and be at a park. It has to be based on, where the child resides.
Proof of, yeah.
So there's a lot more that goes into the programming for that, which in turn means it's a lot more
But
cost.
you can also pay tickets
You can
online?
pay tickets online, taxes online, look at contracts online. You can look at your drainage online. And of course, the new Kenner calendar is a really cool addition.
That's calendar with a K?
With a K, so.
Hope she's not watching. Okay, Councilmember Reyno. Wait, excuse me, there you go.
Thank you, Madam President. Val, you've done a great job with that. I do have a question, though. Filing jobs, plumbers, electricians, are we working on getting that? Because you have the recreation now that they can sign up online. Are we getting to a point where in permits, filing applications, being able to do it online and taking credit cards?
There is, we have the capability. Let me just, there's a whole lot that goes into that, but we have the capability. We have to modify some data in the code enforcement database.
Okay.
Once that is completed, we will absolutely be able to move forward. We have the capability to do those things, but we don't want to do so unless the data is exactly formatted exactly the way it wants to be, because we don't want to bring about an online service and have potential errors.
Okay. So my question is we are working
Oh,
toward
yes,
that?
oh, yes, oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wagasback. Council Clerk. Item 5.
Item 5 is acceptance and rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. Item 5A is a resolution ratifying emergency repairs to engine 368/509 or R379/507 and E378/514 by Fire Apparatus Specialists Incorporated in the amount of $4,293.21 for the City of Kenner Fire Department. Item 5B is a resolution ratifying the purchase of 3 Safari Land body armor vests from Barney's Incorporated in the amount of $2,784.60 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision of ordinances for final passage. We have none.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan on consent. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0.
We finished consent. We just finished consent.
Item, under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding resolution number B16376, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 2001 Kentucky Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan to open a public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0.
We're now in a public hearing regarding summary resolution, a resolution number B16376. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this subject matter? Please come forward.
Ms. Newton has a presentation for the council, please, this evening.
I'm sorry. Okay. Please. Do you need me to do your mic, or you can manually do it?
It should be on.
Okay.
The structure in question is an elevated structure approximately 10 feet high on pilasters bearing the municipal address of 2001 Kentucky Avenue. Property owner is Mr. and Mrs. Noel Touye. On September 9th, 2012, a building permit was issued for renovations. The last building inspection performed at this property occurred on October 9th, 2012. On April 23rd, 2013, a notice was forwarded to the property owners regarding the expiration of the building permit. Subsequently, it was determined that the property located at 2001 Kentucky Avenue was unsafe and dangerous under the building codes for the City of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57 et al. Of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Kenner. On May 7th, 2013, a notice was sent certified mail to the property owners advising them of the property violations. Mr. and Mrs. Noel Touye was sent a notice to appear before this council on the 15th day of August 2013 by certified mail, for which was signed. It is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the City of Kenner, who provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. Structure was under construction, but construction has halted. Structure has been framed up on the first and second floor. Plywood sheathing has been installed on the first floor, providing lateral stability. Temporary diagonal 2x4s are installed on the frames of the second floor for lateral stability. Tarps are covering portions of the structure. Framing members and sheathing have signs of weathering. Fencing of various types is installed around the perimeter of the property, but this fencing is not very secure. Construction material is being stored under the structure on the ground floor. Construction platforms are located on the north side of the structure. Based on the report of the engineer, the structure poses a safety hazard due to the condition of the security fence, allowing access to the construction site and working platforms. Furthermore, we recommend that the city take the steps necessary to declare it a public nuisance and have it brought up to the current codes and standards. Also, with no protection, the framing members will continue to weather over time, and at some point, rot may ensue and its condition could worsen to the point where it becomes structurally unsound. And after that, I'd just like to make mention that Frank Lang is here with Digital, the engineering consulting firm.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Newton. Now, is there anyone from the audience wishing to address the council on this? Please come forward. State your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Reba Touye. My present address is 709 Nicholson Avenue, Wayland, Mississippi. The address and
Can you pull the mic a little bit closer? There you go.
The address in question is 2001 Kentucky Avenue.
Correct. Go ahead.
We have been trying for 5 years, 6 years, to get this project started. It took us forever to get the funding, and then we're working on our 4th contractor at the moment. First one just decided he just didn't want to have his license anymore. The next one didn't have a license, and then the next one, he just kind of took off with some money and did not finish what he said he was going to do with the money he had. That's where we're at as of December 2012. Right now, we're working with a mortgage company, Movement Mortgage, and today we met with a contractor, another contractor, who is going to give us an estimate in about a week to 2 weeks. He said it's going to take about that much time to get it together, give us a proper amount, estimate and such, turn it in, and then Movement Mortgage prides themselves on closing within 7 days. We've already talked to them about our credit and our income. They said that's not a problem. We're just waiting for all the information, which would be the estimate, to turn in. And then, once we get it, we're going to continue.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it. We're trying. I mean, I'm not sitting around doing absolutely nothing. I mean, it may look like it looking at the thing, but we come in every week or so, cut the grass, pick up trash that people just throw out on the corner, because it's a corner lot. We've noticed things missing, people stolen things, people have done this and that. I've called the police, make incident reports and such. And our fencing, it was temporary. We had an inspector stand there watching us put it up, and he said, that's not a problem, that's fine, as long as it's going to be different, once you get your permit and continue building. He says it's good for right now because it's a construction site at the moment. We have a gate, we have locks which have been cut, the chains have been cut, we've had to replace. I have my neighbor keep watching it, and I mean, it's all we can do. We come in from Wayland, Mississippi, every week or so to take care of things. So.
Okay. We're going to, if you're finished, we're going to close public hearing if there's no one else, and then the council member I know may want to ask you some questions, so may need to call you back up.
Okay.
Okay. Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate Ms. Newton reading Ms. Shaw's report, which incorporated Mr. Lang's report from Digital Engineering. I'd like to make both those reports part of the legislation and part of the record.
Okay.
Well, we'll get it to you later. I'm going to.
Okay.
Ms. Touye, if you can come on back up.
Okay.
One of the things Ms. Touye addressed that we haven't addressed is this has not been a year or two issue. This has been going on 5 or 6 years. And Ms. Touye, it's more than just cutting the grass. You can put up fencing, but that fencing weakens over time. You have construction materials out there that can become projectiles. That construction was odd when the permit was given by code because of the height of the structure. So everybody was a little bit antsy at the time, and it's 5 years later, and they're frustrated, and they're upset. And I've talked to you several times. Just so everyone knows here, Ms. Touye has asserted that, you know, there's been some contractor fraud, and I have been as sympathetic as I can. She was trying to go to the state to get additional money through that contractor fraud program with the AG's office. I don't think she's able to get money through that, but she's come to us and said that now she may be able to get money through a mortgage company. I'll deal with those residents who have been complaining, but I have to tell you, I'm willing to defer this one more time. I've not done that since I've been on the council. We've been very aggressive on taking down those structures who we believe are blighted and or a safety hazard to the adjoining residents. And I'll have to deal with those people. I'm willing to defer this for 2 meetings, but in 2 meetings, I intend to move forward with the information that was provided by Ms. Newton and by Mr. Lang. It's been a long time, and I think that where there's a will, there's a way. You may have been able to get this money a little bit sooner, but I'm gonna hold off 2 meetings and see if you can acquire the estimate and the money. And just so you know, you still have to get out there and secure those projectiles, the construction material, the fencing. You have some issues with the walls and the roof. And those things, I'm not saying they take a lot of money. Those things need to be secured now. I will tell you that the code director at the time was very leery about issuing the permit because of the height of the structure. But you presented what on the outside looked like a very nice home. So I'm hoping that, you know, you can have that realization and the neighbors around you can see that as well. But time is running out.
Oh, I know. Well, it wasn't the building, we hadn't started 5 years ago. That was, we actually poured our slab October 11, 2012.
Right, but this
So
is your
that's-
second permit, correct?
Well, my second permit, yeah, has expired.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, with no fault of our own, our contractor just decided, you know, I mean, that's not our fault. Well, I mean, I've done everything. I've gone to 5 or 6 banks, and they said, oh, well, you need a working kitchen or a bathroom to get a loan. And I'm like, well, this is you know, I'm trying to build my house. I didn't get to that point because my contractor's, you know, jerking me around. And so every time I went to a bank and they told me this, after they ran my credit, it knocked my score down. So I finally spoke to somebody else, and she says, you scored to a certain point, we can help you. And I'm at that point, again, finally, and she's, you know, she's just basically waiting on the estimate, and that's it. Once she gets the estimate, she's gonna keep going. And believe me, I understand the problem, I do, because I'm having the problem having to live in Waveland, Mississippi. I mean, I'm at ground zero, Katrina. I'm 9 blocks from the beach. I'm having problems left and right there, physically, mentally. You know, it's just, I want to come back, and I'm not sitting around doing nothing.
Well,
I want to come back.
my job is I'm charged with the health and welfare of those people that surround that area as well. And this is a safety hazard. I'm willing to go 2 more meetings. My hope is that this gets resolved in a favorable fashion for both you and your neighbors. But I'm letting you know in 2 weeks, we're going to move forward to demand that you repair or we'll demolish it.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion that we have a 2-meeting deferral. In the interim, I'd like the council clerk to make part of the record the report read by Ms. Newton and Mr. Lang's report, if that's possible. And feel free, anybody, to second that motion, by the way.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan for a 2-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,593, an ordinance amending the text to ordinance number 2427, the City of Kenner Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, more specifically amending Article 718, Off-Street and Loading Regulations, Section 18.01A12, General Requirements in accordance therewith.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan to open a public hearing. Council members, please vote. I have to mark Mr. Stagney absent.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 4-3. Councilmember Stagney did not vote, and Councilmembers Black and DeFrances are absent.
Okay, we're now in a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,593. Mr. Hebert, you have a presentation?
Yes, thank you, Council President. Section 1801A12 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance permits the off-street parking of licensed vehicles on developed and non-developed lots in residential zoning districts, provided the vehicles not exceed a maximum weight of 6,000 pounds. Now, the provision was originally adopted by Ordinance 2602 on August 6 of 1979. At that time, it set the initial maximum weight limit for those licensed vehicles at 3,500 pounds. Following that, on July 14, 1980, Ordinance number 2741 was adopted, which increased the maximum weight limit from 3,500 pounds to 6,000 pounds. Since July 14, 1980, that provision has never again been changed. Now, our department's research into the subject determined that since the late 70s, early 80s, the average weight of both private and commercial vehicles has increased. Now, during this period, pickup trucks, vans, and sport utility vehicles have had the largest weight gains, while at the same time becoming the majority of the vehicles sold in the U.S. auto market. Now, in comparing the city's weight limit of 6,000 pounds to other communities, we found that many municipalities have set higher weight limits that are more reflective of the current average weights of vehicles. The majority of those utilizing a maximum weight of 10,000 pounds. The Planning Commission and the Planning Department therefore recommend that to be more consistent with the current average weights of these vehicles, that Section 1801A12 be amended by increasing the maximum weight limit for those licensed vehicles parked on developed or undeveloped lots in residential zoning districts from 6,000 pounds to 10,000 pounds.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council? Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Do you wish to speak? Okay, Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. I had asked Timethia Shaw and Jay Hebert to look into this because we had passed previous legislation raising the weight limits, to 14,000 pounds on the street. And I thank y'all for working on this. I mean, this has been a problem in District 3 where we've had people that have received citations for parking, a plumbing truck or whatever, their vehicle that they use, to work out of. So it's solved the problem. And, like I told them, I said, my wife has an F-250 pickup truck, and it weighs more than 6,000 pounds. So, most vehicles do weigh more, and this just substantiates that. But I'm just going to go ahead and close. I mean, I think talk what I need to. Thanks.
Okay. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate Mr. Reno asking for that legislation. I know about 3 years ago, I received a complaint, not a complaint, it's a complaint from an elderly veteran on Main Street, which our code inspectors just went by. There was nobody that complained against him, but he had a overweight, I don't even know the numbers, but the overweight pickup truck with just a small camper top on the back. And it was because it was over the weight limit. And at that time, Ms. Shaw told me that she would start working on some legislation. So unbeknownst to me, I thought that's what this was, so I appreciate you reinvigorating them to do that. This needs to be done because, as you said, it was, what, early 80s, 1980, that this legislation was passed, and the trucks have changed dramatically. And you know, we can't be citing people for parking their pickup trucks in front of their house because of the weights of the vehicles. So I'm going to support this legislation. I appreciate Councilman Reno bringing it forward. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Jay, I want to ask you a question. This legislation, you know, which, you know, I appreciate Councilman Reno for bringing this to attention, because, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, SUVs out there, you know, that are just, I mean, just big. The Excursions are over 6,000 pounds. I mean, this makes sense. But the only thing I have a question about vacant lots. Why would we permit parking in vacant lots that don't have driveways, that don't have aprons, and don't have access to our streets? Why would we include that in this legislation?
Well, that verbiage has been existing in the legislation since it was adopted in 1979, and evidently at the time they must have felt that vacant lots, you may own the vacant lot that's next door to your building, to your residence, and so they wanted to cover both vacant and developed parcels.
Right, but I mean, also, I mean, you know, this council in the future has to take up some sort of legislation to keep people from parking in front of their houses that, you know,
right,
like we have 3 or 4 cars parking right on the front lawn.
Right.
You know, I mean, would you have a problem with taking vacant lots out of this legislation?
I would, because if you do, then you're removing the restriction, and then basically you're pretty much allowing and permitting anyone to park a vehicle.
No, I'm talking about, you're saying here that you're going to allow trucks and cars to be parked on vacant lots.
No, right, you're covering both vacant, undeveloped parcels and developed parcels. If you remove the verbiage vacant lots, the provision then only applies to developed property, in which case you're removing the restrictions for parking on vacant.
But how would we word this so that they don't park vehicles on vacant lots, that don't have aprons and don't have driveways? That's what I'm getting at.
You can
How would
basically put in, you can add to the provision that parking vehicles on vacant property is prohibited.
Okay.
You can do
I
that.
mean, I mean, that's what I would have. I mean, there's vacant lots in a lot of neighborhoods. I mean, and then all of a sudden you start parking trucks and cars. It doesn't matter the weight. I mean, this is beyond weight, but we're going to have to be taking up some sort of legislation about this right now, that cars are parking on front yards that don't have aprons, that don't have driveways, that don't have access.
Right.
So I'm just seeing a complication with this down the road. So that's what I was saying. If you can verbiage it, I would put it on the floor as an amendment and then pass the bill.
I wouldn't, right, my recommendation would be not to remove the verbiage, but if you want to prohibit the parking on vacant parcels, then I think you need to be specific and actually state that.
Okay, so we can amend this later or do a specific ordinance for that?
That's up to you guys.
Huh?
Yeah, that's up to
Is
y'all.
that what you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting if y'all want to add that, if y'all want to go beyond what we recommended and actually prohibit the parking of these licensed vehicles on undeveloped property, then you be specific.
Then what, I'm sorry.
Then be specific and basically put in the provision that parking vehicles, licensed vehicles on undeveloped lots is prohibited, or something to that effect.
Do you want to add that tonight, or you want to do that an amendment later?
I'm recommending the weight increase and nothing beyond that. That's up to y'all if y'all want to do that.
You have a problem with that? put it in, and I'll bring the amendment again across. Okay. Well, I want to get the verbiage straight for you, but this is my only concern about that. I'll pass this tonight, but I would like to see, I want to entertain also going a little bit beyond that, because this is something that, you know, you got empty lots in neighborhoods and people start parking boats and cars in it. I think you're going to have a problem, okay? And I think this council needs to address that. So I will come back with legislation later, okay? Thank you.
And Mr. Abear, whenever we talk about vehicles parking, and we talk about tonnage, for some reason, the issue of school buses comes up. Does this have anything to do with school buses parking?
This does not impact school buses. School buses, I think on average, weigh anywhere from 22,000 pounds to 2,500. I mean, 25,000 pounds.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolution and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution authorizing the city council for the city of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 2724-26 Richland Street, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 13B is a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 1525 31st Street, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda.
We had none.
Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,600, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Heartland Park and Recreation LLC in the amount of $12,611.99 to furnish and install modern shade playground cover or equal at Galatas Playground in accordance with seal bid number 13-6162 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please, Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. When I was first elected, we had a tot lot that was on Gladys Playground, and it's right next to the baseball field, so we had a lot of pop flies coming up and all. So I had asked to look into this, and it's taken this long to actually get this done, but this is going to definitely protect those small children that are playing on that Gladys colors. Thank you.
And where are you getting the money from?
Oh, I forgot, sorry.
I was just wondering.
I'm sorry. I want to thank Councilwoman Brannigan and Councilwoman Black for also participating in the cost of this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry about that.
Council members, please vote. In that case, I will be.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,601, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of Jefferson Parish contract number 55-13566 with Flint Trading Incorporated for the purchase of thermoplastic pavement markings on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $50,000 annually for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Carroll. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,602, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from BLD Services, LLC, in the amount of $1,115,150 for the improvements to Cattle Farm Road Lift Station 4224 and Force Main to Duncan Chateau Lift Station 4200 project in accordance with seal bid number 13-6166 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember DeNapolis. I'm sorry, I was just thinking that I'm sure Councilmember DeFrancis would love to have been here for this legislation. It's a huge project, and I know she would say how many people she's met at different odd times of the night because of problems that this lift station has caused, and it's true. I mean, she's worked tirelessly to work with the administration to address these issues. And, you know, when a project like this comes up, you like to have your name on the legislation. So I feel bad that she's not here this evening, but it's a great thing for that area of the city. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 11,603, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Advanced Quality Construction Incorporated in the amount of $643,407.80 for the 31st and Washington Lift Station Upgrade Project in accordance with seal bid number 13-6167 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Carroll. Council members, please vote. Or is that reversed? Should I have done that reversed? Councilmember Carroll and then Stagney, please.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 11,604. An ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Diamond Electrical Company Incorporated in the amount of $155,138.46 for the Esplanade Signal improvements in accordance with seal bid number 13-6169 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember DeNapolis. Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, this is what we were talking about earlier, right?
Yes, ma'am. Improvements to 3 traffic signals, 2 along West Esplanade and the other one on 32nd Street by the Esplanade entrance from 32nd Street.
Okay, so this is work that we've already studied it. We know what needs to happen, and this is the money to make that happen?
Correct.
So what's happening?
We just bid it.
No, but I mean, so tell me what the work is going to include.
Oh, what the work is going to entail, we're going to put some cameras out there that is going to, you know, hopefully alleviate traffic movement along West Esplanade, because those cameras are going to be able to detect movements, whether on Esplanade or on the side streets, and it's going to allow more green time to the areas that are congested. That's one of the things that we're going to do under this improvement. We're going to add some loop detectors, and we're also going to do some electrical related work to, you know, in the electrical panels.
Are there other intersections that we may be familiar with that do the intersection allow for traffic flow by cameras?
We don't have many cameras. However, under this study that the RPC engaged in, okay, our intent over a period of time is to install cameras by all of our traffic signal system intersections. The 2 that we talked about earlier is Chateau and West Esplanade, and the other one is Roosevelt and West Metairie, where we're going to put new masked arms, new traffic controllers, and cameras. As more federal money becomes available, we would like to take care of all the traffic signal intersections throughout Kenner using the same mentality.
Okay, so are there any traffic signals in parts of Jefferson Parish on East Jefferson that we may be familiar with, that we can see that improved it? Or is this just that progressive that we're going to be one of the first?
No, I think Jefferson Parish, unincorporated Jefferson Parish, I think they have a number of traffic signals where they have used cameras and cameras are installed.
Okay, because I don't know, I mean, I grew up in East Jefferson. I've lived in Metairie when I grew up. I've lived in Kenner. So I'd be familiar with other intersections that I just wondered if it would have been something that I was unaware of, and that's why the improvement happened, and that would then make the light bulb go off, that's why. I mean, is it cameras that great that it would have been an intersection that we would?
They're supposed to be, actually, those cameras are supposed to be controlling traffic. Allow more green time to the areas that are congested and less green time for areas that are not so congested.
I guess I'm wanting to open up my Christmas present before Christmas. I want to know what this is gonna look like.
There's a possibility.
Okay. All right, since I trust you so much, I'll hold out. When's this gonna be finished? December?
Well, once this ordinance gets adopted, the next thing for us to do is enter into a contract with a contractor and give them a notice to proceed. Ideally, we would like to finish it by the end of December, but it could be January.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Councilmember DeNapolis?
I've never seen Councilwoman Brannigan be so interested in a particular ordinance, so I'm going to rename this the Anna's Linen Ordinance, so Michelle Brannigan can get to work faster.
Good.
Do I need a second? Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. He's not even naming it for me. It's Anna's Linens. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I'd like to get on the legislation because one of the entrances is coming from District 2 on 32nd Street. Mr. Gonzalez, Ms. Brannigan was talking about somewhere else where they're headed. The large, did they already change out the large mast arms at Williams and West Esplanade with the large signage?
All the mast arms, and that work was done by the DOTD, not the city of Kenner. Okay, yeah, all those mast arms have been changed, and what you have out there are probably still some, metal mast arms that are still there are not being used. Those are going to be removed by the DOTD. But that's a good example of an old system where you had metal poles out there and you had nothing but a wire system to support the traffic signal heads. The same thing is happening at West Esplanade and Chateau, and the same thing is happening at West Metairie and Roosevelt.
No, those need updating. Not only is it, aesthetically pleasing and much easier to drive because you see the huge signage there, you have cameras at some of those intersections that control the flow. It just makes Kenner a little more modern. So we appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and also for Councilwoman Brannigan's persistence in trying to getting you to answer when this would be done. So we appreciate you giving us late December, early January. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I've known Jose almost as long as I've lived in Kenner, so he's used to me. Okay, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 11,605. An ordinance accepting the responsive bid from Crescent Decal Specialists Incorporated for an annual contract to supply 45,000 brake tags at a cost of $9,100 and no cents per year in accordance with letter bid number 13-1503 for the Motor Vehicle Inspection Station and Inspection and Code Enforcement Department.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 11,606, an ordinance approving an agreement with Kyle and Associates LLC for professional services in a connection with the installation of a new force main from Chateau Transfer Station to wastewater treatment plant number 3 in an amount not to exceed $208,870 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember Reyno. Another project in Councilmember DeFrancis's district, so I know this is difficult for her not to be here for some of these projects. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 11,607, an ordinance approving change order number 1 to the contract between the City of Kenner and Tuna Construction LLC for the Bertha Lee Jackson Improvements Project, City Project number 12-6106, increasing the contract time by 46 calendar days for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeNapolis. Do we need to change that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We've received a request this evening from the administration to amend this item to reflect 47 calendar days by increasing the contract time, 47 days instead of 46.
So motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeNapolis to amend it to read 47 calendar days. Let's vote on that amendment.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. On the original legislation, please.
The original legislation as amended, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15I is a resolution accepting as complete the contract with D.L. Daigle and Company LLC for the interior renovations of the second floor of the old Wentwood Gymnasium for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember Reyno. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Okay, this legislation actually was postponed one meeting because I really wanted to take a look at the interior renovations, and I'll tell you, I did take a walk through it today with Ken Miracoli, and I tell you, the place is really looking good. The old Wentwood Gym is really being rehabilitated, and I understand that Leisure Services is already using the facility upstairs for one of their exercise classes, so this is great. So I have no problems in passing it today. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
One more, please. Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 15J is a resolution accepting as complete the contract with Han Enterprises Incorporated to remove and replace rubber safety surfacing at Laketown Tot Lot for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. I went out and visited it. It looks great. There's no more plywood up on our slides out there. It did a fantastic job, and I know Ken's not here tonight. I wanted to thank him, but wonderful job. Thank you.
Okay. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 16, Article 1 and 2 of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances regarding vehicles for hire. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the lowest response bid received for the furnishing and installation of new modular athletic flooring, as well as the installation of previously purchased modular athletic flooring at Buddy Lawson Gymnasium in accordance with letter bid number 13-1505 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Rainey Electronics Incorporated in the amount of $8,667 to furnish and install a scoreboard at Susan Park Playground in accordance with seal bid number 13-6173 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16D is an ordinance approving an increase to the maximum agreement amount of the agreement with Dom Development Corporation for miscellaneous carpentry work, labor only, on an as-needed basis to an amount not to exceed $200,000 annually. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Louisiana Container Company Incorporated in the amount of $7,195 for the purchase of a 20-yard steel recycling container in accordance with telephone bid number T13-2077. Item 16F is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of Jefferson Parish contract number 55-12872 with Crane Materials International for the purchase of pile sheeting and end caps on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $75,000 annually for the Department of Public Works. Item 16G is an ordinance revoking the dedication of the 15-foot wide alley located in Square 459, Highway Park Subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, bisecting said square in a north-south direction bounded by 23rd Street to the north, 22nd Street to the south, Florida Avenue to the east, and Delaware Avenue to the west. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. McConnell, the parish, the renewal for the millages, it's for water and sewage. Water affects us, the sewage does not. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to announce to, and I'm sure somebody will announce for the North Kenner meeting, but the South Kenner meeting for Districts 1 and 2, and I guess everyone can attend, will be Monday, the 23rd at Heritage Hall at 6:30. If you would like some information on what these millages entail, specifically for Kenner residents, it involves our water supply. It is nothing more than a renewal. And again, I'll just say, I'm going in support, Councilman Zahn, Councilman Spears, and I think Parish President Young will be at the meeting. I was going to mention also the Roosevelt panels. I've gotten several calls. What's the pink writing on the panels in the streets? Roosevelt, Mr. Hathaway, and Mr. Gonzalez have talked about this. I think we had somewhere about $500,000 extra dollars committed to that, which I'm very appreciative. I know I was harsh trying to get some of that stuff done, but I appreciate your dedication and Mr. Hathaway's persistence in making that happen. So that's what the writing is on all the panels. It's not in our typical white, but hey, we'll take it since the work's going to be done. I guess I'm going to ask Mr. Quigley. The new DFIRM maps have come out for the flood ratings or the flood, and I know our floodplain manager is leaving. I was under the impression early on that all of Kenner would be in a better position after these came out. A resident actually contacted me. Then I had to go back to Ms. Shaw and ask for the information. There's about 133 houses in Kenner that the flood insurances are going to go up because they've gone from an X zone to an AE zone. And I've asked for that list, and I appreciate it. Ms. Shaw has provided the list. But I also asked for the reasons why they're going to another zone that's going to increase their flood insurance, and I would like to know an approximate amount of how much. And I know Ms. Shaw is leaving, so Mr. Quigley, if I can either put it on your back or Mr. Conley, who's going to be the interim director as well, to ask Jefferson Parish. There was a name in that information. I don't remember it right now, but we really need, because most of it centers around those residents just off the West Napoleon Canal, and their rates are going to go up. I don't know how substantial. It appears to me it may be a large number. So if we could, or if you can get somebody I can talk to, a lot of those residents, even though they received a letter from Jefferson Parish, they do not know that their flood insurance is going up. And lastly, Mr. Councilman DeNapolis, myself, and Mr. Richard, you were up here early, and I'm going to invite you back up because I know you tried to get away without us talking to you. We met recently. One of the biggest problems we have in this city is the number of residents that are just piled into a house in a residential zoning. And we have some laws on the books of which I believe should be forcefully enforced now. There's been some waiting because of a case in Baton Rouge. Councilman DeNapolis and I met with Mr. Richard, and I guess Ms. Shaw showed up at that meeting as well. And we're putting forth some legislation that will address this. In the interim, I would be hopeful that Code would take an aggressive stance where they see and can confirm too many people in a household. But Mr. Richard, you've done some research on it. Give us an idea. We're talking about how many people in the house, maybe the density per square feet, the number of vehicles that can park in the front yard, as you were addressing earlier, Mr. DeNapolis. But go ahead and give us an idea of what you're doing right now to find this information out.
Sure. Well, we're initially looking at some of the other municipalities throughout the country and just determining how they address density requirements, whether it be through square footage for a particular room and a given number of occupants, things of that nature. And we're also looking at the various standardized codes that are also available to us for some type of guidance in developing some standards for the ordinance that you would like.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and you had even done research prior to this meeting. Mr. DeNapolis brought in a ton of research regarding HUD housing and some other information. So hopefully within a month, we'll try to streamline that, get copies to everybody as far as what we'll try to do, and we'll try to get a good ordinance out of that. But again, I just like Code. We have an ordinance on the books. It was challenged in Baton Rouge because they had one guy who rented to a lot of college kids, and he had the wherewithal to fight it. A lot of these people are just getting piled into houses. The surrounding neighbors who've been there for a long, long time are getting more and more upset. They're looking at us to enforce what's currently on the books, and if we need to streamline it for something in the future, they're looking at us to do that as a legislative body. So I'm hopeful that we can do that, and I appreciate all the help. And Mr. DeNapolis, if you want to talk about anything when your time comes up on the same meeting, go right ahead. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Stagney. Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. This weekend, on Saturday, we have the NOLA Zombie Z-Day 5K Run and Fest at Lake Town. Starts at 8 o'clock. They have an obstacle course that the race participants are going to go through, being chased by zombies. That ought to be interesting. On October 9th at 7 p.m. at the Pavilion, Parish President John Young is going to put on a presentation and also answer questions about the water and sewage millage renewals. Deutsches Haus is back for the Oktoberfest for 3 weekends in Rivertown, October 11th and 12th, October 18th and 19th, and the final weekend, 25th and 26th. And I also want to talk about our little jewel in Rivertown, the Theater 13. We're season ticket holders, and the last couple of shows that they had been totally sold out. So, you know, a lot of people are gone. They really put on a great production. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, this morning, Chappelle had a breakfast at Chateau Country Club, and I attended that this morning. What a great honor that school. I mean, to have this kind of a fundraiser. So I encourage you, anytime that these schools have these particular fundraisers, that attend them. They do need the help. It does further and help the education and some of the costs, defray some of the costs that the school has to entail. And also, as Councilman Stagney had kind of led into earlier about density and housing, and of course, when we had spoken about the challenge that's in Baton Rouge, the challenge, I think, is more in definitions of family and things like that. Well, we're going to probably go around that a little bit and actually talk about density as into a safety factor in particular houses. And that's why I alluded earlier about the legislation about parking and parking in lots. I mean, that's also another problem. Not only is the density in housing becoming a problem, I know in my district and probably throughout the city of Kenner, and we should be very vigilant because, I mean, we need to maintain the integrity of our neighborhoods. It's also the parking. I mean, some of these houses, there's houses, that have 6 and 7 cars parked on the front yard. I mean, this is a clear indication that house is either being, overlived, over-rented. I don't know. Most of it's rental properties that we're having issues with, people renting properties in R1. But, we've had a law in the books since, I can remember that if you're going to rent a home, you're going to be a homeowner, and you're going to rent that big home, you have to have an occupational license, okay? That's on the books. That's not being enforced, okay? And with an occupational license, the city gets control, inspection and control. So that's something that also that legislation is going to have in it, is that maybe a requirement of a license. Maybe if you're going to take an R1 home and make it a business venture at that point and rent it out, then we're going to require you, it's already in the books, to have an occupational license, and then at that point in time also require that you have the lease also registered with the city of Kenner. So we know exactly who's supposed to be in the house, what's their names, who's supposed to be in the residence. So there's a lot of things that we're coming up with, and hopefully we can tie the noose so that this doesn't happen, this doesn't occur, because we're already having issues in East Louisiana, West Louisiana. We're already having houses that are just being overrun with occupants. So I'm looking forward to that legislation hitting the council. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Newton?
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate place to address it or if it's item 20, but I'll go ahead.
I'll let you know.
Just wanted to get it out there. First of all, our District 5 listening session Wanted to make it very clear, it was originally scheduled for Wednesday, the 25th. It's been moved to October 2nd, which is the following Wednesday. Date and time remain the same. Doors open at 7:15, and it's at the Pavilion, 3800 Loyola Drive. This weekend, Councilman Reno already mentioned, we have things going on from the river to the lake. Starting in Lake Town, the Zombie Run, benefiting the Louisiana and Jefferson Parish SPCA's. And in Rivertown, 42nd Street is going on at the Rivertown Theater for the Performing Arts. It runs this weekend all the way through September 28th. And at the Castle Theater, Bless You Boys is this Friday. October 3rd is Chateau's third annual food and wine event. There's information on Chateau's website, and proceeds go to the Raintree Children and Family Services, who help protect and guide needy and neglected children and teens. And finally, the big announcement is we have opened applications for a Mayor's Youth Council, and it's a wonderful way for young people to get involved in their community. Qualifications are Kenner residents between the ages of 14 and 19, attending public or private school or a homeschool program. So you can attend school anywhere in the metro area. You just have to live in Kenner. Applications are being accepted now through November 1st, and we will select our inaugural council on December 2nd.
Great.
More
And what types of
information, visit the
things-
Kenner website.
What types of things are the council going to do?
They're going to do volunteer activities throughout the city, community service type things, trying to engage other youth. So these 20 kids are kind of going to be an advocate to encourage other teenagers to get proactively involved in the community and hopefully want to stay there as they grow older.
Good, okay. I wanted to just mention, I know Councilmember Stagney alluded to it earlier. We often tease between, or I guess the mayor and the parish president tease about which employees we've taken from him and which employees he's taken from us. And, you know, usually it's because people have an opportunity to go continue to serve the public. And we got a memo from the mayor saying that Ms. Shaw, who has been our Director of Code Enforcement, will be resigning effective Friday, and she'll be becoming the hearing officer for the Jefferson Parish Juvenile Court. It's always been in her practice and in her passion to represent families and children. So this is a really good fit for her, and we wish her well in her new endeavor. We're sorry to see her go. She took some great strides in our code enforcement department and worked with us on some very complicated issues with an attorney's eye, which was quite a gift for us for the times that she served with us. But she will be missed, but we wish her well, and I know she'll be happy in her new position. But, you know, we've often gotten really great people from the parish to come and work with us over in the city of Kenner. And one of our favorite people who we snagged from the parish is being honored by the Bureau of Governmental Research for a Lifetime Achievement Award, and that's Mr. Gonzalez, who we often pose the tough questions to him because he's got he gets all those glamorous jobs having to deal with sewage and road, which now we can go online and look at, so we can see through your eyes now. But Jose has had a wonderful career in public service. You may not know that he served as your parish president for a short time. How long was it? 6 weeks?
6 long days.
6 very long days. So take every one of your longest days and put them together, and that's how long he was our parish president. But Jose, all kidding aside, there is no one, not one person that I have ever spoken to, and you've worked with many, many people, that has not just thought the world of you. Not only in your position and how you've served and what you've accomplished, but as a person as well. So that is quite a tribute when, people, when you hear how people speak about you, that is, you know, really a gift. And I'm one of those people that you know is just crazy about you, and so I'm just so thrilled that you're being recognized. Very well deserved. This Lifetime Achievement Award honors a high level of performance over a career in public service. You must have at least 15 years of public service, and I know you've had over 30, correct? And no more than 2 winners are selected a year. So couldn't be happier for you, and I'm sure other people share those sentiments. But you know, I appreciate that you're with us with the City of Kenner, but I value your friendship more than anything. So thank you so much and congratulations. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And I would just like to echo Councilwoman Brannigan's remarks about Attorney Shaw, who will be leaving us for another position. From everyone in District 1, we would like to thank Ms. Shaw for all of her hard work, for the journey that she's taken District 1 to the position of improving our property, holding us responsible for things that we may have taken for granted in the past, but we now understand what it takes to ensure that the community is safe and sound and to make Kenner a place that we want to be. I think it's a tough job. The only other department that's tougher than that would be recreation, because there you deal with people's children, whereas in code you deal with people's property. So those two, you get that passion that you have to deal with someone one-on-one and in their face, and it's a tough job for her and the whole department, the administration. So we wish her well in her new opportunities, and thanks again for all of the hard work and all of the things she's improved the City of Kenner. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Mayor Yenning.
I just wanted to echo what you were saying about Jose for sure, and I'm going to talk about Tamithia in a second. But one thing that stood out to me when the Bureau of Governmental Research sent this to me was you touched on some of the readings, but a little bit further down. It says BGR created and hosts its annual BGR Excellence in Government Awards, designed to promote good government by honoring public employees who have shown outstanding integrity, creativity, innovation, and efficiency. And truly, Jose brings all of those characteristics to life, because that's exactly what he did when he came here. He hit the ground running, took off, got us $27 million with the Path to Progress, completely dove into the storage projects. And I know that there were some skeptical council members that were very concerned about Mr. Reddy's departure, but Jose really took the ball and ran with it. And I can say, having known him from working in 2 other Yenny administrations, he's certainly earned his weight and done a very good job. And that yields me to Ms. Shaw. You know, we were very upset to hear that she was leaving. The first thing I said is, okay, I know the job stressed you. I know I've put you in the hospital once and you're probably going to go in again. But I said, is there anything we can do to make this better? I mean, if we need to salary negotiate, can we? Well, it shocked me, but she is actually, the job she's taking is actually for less money. So it shows the true character of her person, that she really believes in juvenile services to the community and wants to get totally thrown into that. And I think she's going to do an outstanding job doing that.
I'm sure she will. So, okay, Council Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. Item 18 is new business. This was taken earlier. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position.
We have none.
Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
We have a few. Mr. Almarella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 41 years. I want to talk about state statute. The state statute is LSA RS 42-1461. What this statute focuses on is public property used by public officials, whether elected or non-elected, for personal use. It's divided into 9 subsections. The first one is legislative intent. Second one is public entities. The third is transportation. Fourth is cell phones. Fifth is officials. 6 is credit cards. 7 is pawning. 8 is travel expenses. And 9 is vacation and leave. I would like our legal department to do some research into this statute and see if there are any violations by any public officials in this government and report back to the people of Kenner. It wasn't mentioned in the opinion that we got from the Assistant AG on Councilman Carroll with this car issue. And I certainly would like to wonder why. I mean, this statute wasn't even mentioned in this issue. But anyway, I'd like some research done on it, and I'd like a report given to the people of Kenner concerning all our public officials. Second, there's yet another lawsuit filed against the city of Kenner, and this time it's one Jeff Zapata. Now, I want to challenge Jeff Zapata, Mr. Zapata, to come to this next council meeting and to give us an explanation why we are being sued. Now, anybody got any comments, any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morella. I think the two yays were here earlier. Is that correct? They're no longer here. Right. Bishop Allen?
Well, good evening, everyone, Madam Chair.
Name and address for the record, sir?
Yes, I'm Bishop Adam Allen, 3017 Dawson Street, Glory God Baptist Church Ministries. I just want to come by as part of the ministry in Kenner, let you know, everyone, the administration, and all of you, what good job that you are doing and how you're improving the city of Kenner. I've been here over 60 years, and I remember when there was nothing, no buses, you had to walk half of Kenner and woods and bushes, but it's such improvement, and we just want to say thank you and keep doing great job and great work that you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice. Mr. Robert Miles.
Good afternoon. Robert Miles, 4045 East Louisiana State Drive in Kenner. Got something that's happened that's troubling me. On August the 5th, there was an article in the Times-Picayune about alleged money gone missing, cash gone missing from code enforcement. On August the 8th, there was another article where a law enforcement investigation was being started by the Kenner Police Department on this missing cash. And there were several employees of code enforcement that were witnesses of material fact regarding this missing money. Then I find out today that my nephew is an inspector in code enforcement, Joey Metzler, that the city hired a private investigator, now he's a witness in this other incident, hired a private investigator to follow him around for 5 days, watching everything that he did. And one of the things that they quoted was dishonesty, and it was from initially he didn't go on calls in order that he was assigned, but he already taken care of these calls. I went to the hearing this afternoon. Also, Joey had called me while I was going on because he saw someone in a brown truck following him. And he's in my neighborhood, so he's going to pass my home, see if I could see who it was, because he was in fear that it was someone that maybe he had issued a court summons to in his duties as a code enforcement officer, electrical inspector, someone that may have wanted to do him harm, which is why he drove evasively to avoid them. When he passed my home, the truck wasn't there. The guy broke off or what, I don't know what happened. But one of the things with him not taking the calls in order, these are inspections that were done. Don't know where this investigator got his list from, but it's just wrong. And what this has done to an employee, saying he's dishonest when he's a witness to something else, but then the person in code enforcement that has a felony conviction that served time in federal penitentiary, embezzling $43,000 from a credit union, and neglected to list that fact on her employment application for the city of Kenner, just left it blank, and evidently no one questioned it or no one wanted to see it on the application, so it just was left blank. The city put in that article that was put in the paper that this was an excellent employee, this was a long time ago, blah, blah, blah. But then the same thing that they quoted on Joe Metzler, the city policy, employee policy, states one of the things with dishonesty is a dishonest employment application. If you don't file your employment application out truthfully, that's dishonesty.
Need to wrap it up.
But nothing was done about that. And the second part that I have is with the home at 4032 East Louisiana State Drive, not only was it several families in it, they divided the home into 2 separate apartments with 2 separate kitchens. Nothing has also been done about that. One of the children that lives
Your
there.
time is up. If you,
Well, if you don't, I'm going to say it anyway. There was criminal activity. There had 9 people's cars in the neighborhood damaged by one of the residents of this apartment. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Richard Brown?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm also concerned about the same thing. that
Name and
Robert-
address for the
Oh, I'm
record,
sorry,
please.
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. I'm also concerned about the points that Mr. Miles made about hiring an investigator to to follow code enforcement employees just a few days after they apparently provided information about other wrongdoing within code enforcement. But the real question I've got is something from Jose Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, I was following the discussion about the new traffic lights and the camera sensors that apparently will adjust the signal timing based on traffic flow. Is that what is being used now in lieu of the sensors in the roadway? Because I'm familiar with the traffic lights that use sensors to detect traffic.
No, what is being used right now is loop detectors, which are devices that are embedded in the concrete or the asphalt. That's what is being used right now. And that was the common method of addressing traffic signals over the years. But cameras have surfaced up, and that's a more efficient way of, determining who should get more green time at any given time based on traffic volumes.
I take it then the cameras are motion sensing cameras?
Yes.
They sense when there's movement of vehicles?
Right.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. With what Mr. Miles has said, has it been probable cause for us to hire an investigator to follow employees?
This is a personnel type of thing, and we really can't discuss it in public. That would, I mean, we have ongoing type of investigations, and these are personnel matters, and, as policy, we just, we're not going to comment on it in public.
How about how much money are we spending without getting into any specific employees, and where is that money coming from? Can you comment on that, Mr. Quigley?
I don't know the answer to it. I can't comment.
Do we have a contract in place with some private investigative agency?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Do we have an idea of what the cap is on the contract?
I really don't know at this point.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further business, meeting is adjourned.